Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top Gothic horror campaign. As always, I am Dragna Carta, your host and DM, and thank you to everyone for tuning back in. It's been a bit of a ride so far. I don't even know if we expected to make it this far. Where was everyone else's campaigns at this point?
How many
mine just
sessions
got
were we in?
23.
Yeah.
Pretty sure my party was still in Vallaki.
Well, everyone's always in Vallaki. You can't leave.
My party has gotten the wedding deadline. They're currently planning to kidnap Irina back in order to stop it.
I think my sorcerer just died because he walked into the coffin shop alone.
Nice.
Oh, that's rip. Yeah.
Check out these incredible combat tactics. My party knew that they were going to try to go up against Mordenkainen, the Mad Mage, later in the day. Then in a random encounter against a bunch of wolves, one of them blew like multiple fireballs. It's great.
Optimization.
As one does.
And it's optimization.
Thoughts. Beautiful. All right, well, we'll see how optimized today's approach is. I think we're about ready to get started. So, as always, we'll have announcements after the break. But for now, let's dive in and get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten.
But
All right, and welcome back, everyone. So, last we left off on Twice Bitten. Fleeing Vallaki after the vampire attack on St. Andrew's Church and the death of Izek Strozny, our companions traveled west, visiting a Vistani encampment beyond Vallaki's walls and learning Barovia's history from a dusk elf named Casimir. Securing safe passage along the old Svalich road, they then traveled to Krezk, seeking safe haven at the Abbey of St. Markovia. In Krezk, the travelers met Baron Dmitry Krezkov, the burgomaster of the humble village. Through diplomacy and Lillison's magic, they made their way through Krezk's gatehouse to the abbey overlooking the village, though not before hearing disturbing tales of the abbot's potential identity and secrets. Upon ascending to the abbey, the companions met Otto and Siegfried Bellevue, two malformed bestial humanoids that then summoned them to the abbot himself. The abbey, far from a holy place, proved to resemble desecrated ground, serving as a prison and asylum to countless members of the bestial Bellevue clan. The abbot himself greeted the PCs warmly, only to reveal his near-insane belief that Barovia could be saved by uniting Strahd von Zarevich with the abbot's consideration of his true love, a feminine flesh golem that the abbot had named Vasilka. Fortunately, the travelers also found a new ally elsewhere in the abbey, Esmeralda Davenir, a Vistana monster hunter who had come to Barovia to slay Strahd von Zarevich. They learned that she had arrived in pursuit of Rudolf van Richten, a famed vampire hunter whose trail may have still lingered elsewhere in Barovia. Upon learning of the party's own enmity for Strahd, Esmeralda readily agreed to join forces. She also suggested a visit to Madame Eva, a famed fortune-teller among the Vistani, who dwelled at an encampment at Serre Pool to the east. Meanwhile, as Erthrendir grappled with the revelation that the party's very souls were now trapped in Barovia and the concept of going to war with Strahd, Lillison asked the abbot to inspect a pattern of peculiar scales across her torso. scales the abbot diagnosed as potentially draconic in nature. As the party prepared to depart, the abbot offered a trade. If they would obtain Vasilka a wedding dress within 30 days from elsewhere in Barovia, he would provide them up to 3 resurrections with his healing touch, free of charge. Now armed with a path ahead, a novel quest, and a new ally, the party prepares to descend the mountain once more, readying themselves to return east the following morning. And so, you find yourselves standing atop the switchback road that looks down over Krezk as behind you, the rusted iron gates of the abbey swing shut. You can just faintly hear the snores of Otto and Siegfried Bellevue fade as your footsteps crunch the snow away from the gatehouses and begin descending the trail, as you see, lying out below you, beyond the narrow expanse of this path, the snow-dusted pines and dirt trails that form the small village of Krezk, a faint glittering shimmering from the surface of the bright pool on the northern end of the village below. There's a moment, a wisp, as the chill air ruffles through your hair and through your cloaks, and you pull them a little closer as the cold sets into your bones, though perhaps for some less than others. And for a moment, you have an opportunity to reflect, to prepare, and to think before descending and preparing for the next phase of your journey. Is there anything you would like to do as you descend the path to Krezk?
Shiver.
Very fair.
Yeah, Metron kind of pulls his jacket close to him. Oh, it's fucking freezing. We should get down to one of the houses, yeah. Find some lodging.
Perhaps the Burgomaster has some extra warm clothes that he can spare, because I'm miserable right now.
I am going to pay somebody for some firewood, or I'm going to set something that shouldn't be on fire if this cold keeps up.
Yes, please pay for the firewood.
That was a joke.
I'm sorry, there's been a lot to take in.
No, that's fair. It's been a hell of a day. Let's get down there and get out of this stupid town.
After Lillison says that, Kiva doesn't make it obvious, but does give her a curious glance, because she knows that she had that conversation with the abbot.
Hey, Lil. Where'd you grow up? I mean, you're walking around here with no coat on. I mean, it's freezing. Like, did you grow up somewhere freezing too?
Lillison belatedly chafes at her arms a little bit and says, "It was quite cold in the winters when I grew up. My quarters weren't exactly the most heated part of the house, so I'm a little more accustomed to this, I think, than most others might be."
I'd like to see if she's telling the truth.
By all means, if Lillison would like, you can make an insight check.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's going to be a natural 21.
All right. Let me just quickly... Okay, so, you get the sense that although what she is saying is in fact accurate, there is probably something else as well that she's not saying.
Okay. Yeah, when Lillison turns away, I just give this knowing glance over to Kiva, not trying to hide it, just like, and I kind of like tilt my head down at her.
Kiva looks back and gives him an expression that's like, I know, I'm going to go talk to her about it.
Okay, is there anything more you'd like to do, or will you make your way down to Baron Krezkov's cottage?
Yeah, I'm down to just go there, unless Amity wants to make a snowman or something.
No, Amity's sort of holding Truffle pretty tightly. It's clear that he does not like the cold very much. Is Esmeralda accompanying us, by the way?
She is not. She mentioned that she was remaining at the barracks for the evening. She seemed to suggest that she might not be entirely welcome or even known in Krezk. So she said that she would meet you if you returned to her the following morning.
Got it. Well, Amity's mind is on that dress. So, did any of you happen to see, when we were in Vallaki, you know, a tailor shop or something like that?
Did we?
I remember a leather worker. I don't remember
Yeah.
anybody like that.
If you'd like, you can make a bit of a retroactive intelligence check to see what you remember seeing or not seeing.
All
Is
right.
that something you want everyone to make, or just...
Anyone who's trying to recall.
Yeah, hell yeah.
18 for Metreon.
5 for Earthrendair.
17 for Amity.
21 for Lillison.
20 for Kiva.
All right. Metron and Amity, you recall seeing one or two shops that seem to deal in clothes making or something of the sort. But Lillison, you and Kiva actually recall passing by a dressmaker's shop not far from the Blue Water Inn. You actually passed by just as you saw through the window someone being fitted for a dress at that opportune moment, and you're pretty certain that you could find your way back there if needed.
Lil, wasn't there that place near the inn?
Yes, it was, what was it? Merrywicks and Daughters, something like that?
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a dressmaker there, so it shouldn't be too hard if we can manage to get in without stirring up trouble. Kiva looks momentarily a little embarrassed because she caused the trouble.
I think if necessary, we could find some way to enter that would not be remarked upon.
Or, the other thing is I can, just coat you in some of the old good stuff, some of the old paint, and, they're none the wiser that another blue elf is coming to kill another of their, politicians or whatever.
Yeah. At minimum, I can get 2 of us through with the invisibility spell, whoever's going to be the hardest to hide.
We should probably do that tomorrow, though. I mean, it's I don't know.
No, I vote
yeah.
we stay the night. I'm
Yeah.
not keen on walking in the evening.
Yeah, me neither.
Also, I'd love a good dressmaker. I haven't. Yeah, let's go.
Eventually, you find your way to the bottom of the switchback trail and back in the near pine forest path of Krezk. You can see in the distance the large stone parapets and the walls reaching up at the edges of this snow-dusted wood. And as you proceed further down the path, you can see, as you pass by a branching intersection in the earth and several small, humble cottages, you can see several villagers tending to pigs or chickens, a few weeding gardens or others going about their business. A few of them give you slightly, not suspicious, but somewhat wary, unfamiliar glances. They don't seem unfriendly, though. And you pass undisturbed through the small village in a brief matter of minutes, soon arriving outside of a slightly larger structure than the other cottages nearby. This one is indeed still a cottage, a single floor with a thatched roof, but it seems slightly larger than the neighbors around it, with 2 wings, a northern and a southern. You can see that this one appears to be the closest to the wall, the path leading toward the gatehouse, only a few hundred feet leading away. And you can see a dirt trail cut into the earth that leads toward the front double doors of this larger cottage.
Maybe when we see the burgomaster again, we can maybe ask him if there's something here that that could give us a dress. That way we ain't gotta even travel.
Oh, that's also, I mean, I don't know, this place doesn't really seem like the type that has a lot of shops, but maybe someone has an old dress that they're not using anymore.
Yeah, or maybe someone can make it,
Not a bad plan.
Okay. You make your way down the small dirt path away from the main road toward the entrance of this larger cottage. knocking upon the door. You wait for a moment and hear footsteps on the other side that soon make their way toward the entrance, the door clicking open. Standing on the other side, you see a tall woman with like silvery hair that falls down over her shoulders. That's kind of been pulled up into a tight bun on the back. She has sharp, though not unkind, eyes, and wears a long blue coat, complete with silver trim along the sides, similar to what you saw Baron Krezk wearing. She looks you up and down. Oh, you must be the outsiders that Dmitri mentioned.
We are. Lady Kreskov, I assume?
Indeed. Anna Kreskova, indeed. What may I do for you?
Well, the Baron had extended to us an offer of hospitality, and we were hoping to take very grateful advantage of it.
He had mentioned something of the sort. I don't think there should be any difficulties. One moment, let me... Well, he did mention it should be all right. She glances over the lot of you, scrutinizing for a moment, noting the tired looks in some of your places, some of the dirt smudged on your clothes, and she nods. Very well. And she opens the door and steps back.
Thank you ever so much. And Lilson is going to lead the way inside and stop just inside the house.
You pass into a large, multifunctional room of comfortable wood floors with two doors leading from this section of the cottage. You see in this single large space several rugs, comfortable looking, largely of hide and animal skin, lying on the floor on one side next to what seems to be a stove and a hearth that seems to be puffing white-gray smoke up in through the chimney and to the roof of the cottage above. Beside it, you can see a small table up to one side with several chairs scattered around it, and toward the far side of the chamber to your left, you can see a pair of beds just pushed off to the side underneath a window that looks out onto the side of the house. On the left, you can see a closed door that leads off to another chamber. And on the right-hand side, you can see a pair of double doors that seem to lead off to the southern wing of the cottage. As you step inside into the comfortable warmth of this small enclosed space, the double doors to the right open, and you see making his way out there, not wearing his robe, but wearing simpler work clothes, Baron Dmitri Krezkov, wearing a pair of gloves that he removes, kind of wiping off a bit of dirt and grime from them. And as he looks up at you, he blinks. Oh, I guess you finished your business. Wasn't expecting to see you back so soon. Behind him, you hear the sound of the clucking of chickens and the what sounds like the oinking of pigs, and he reaches back with a foot with an air of someone who's had a lot of practice doing so, and swings the door shut behind him.
We did indeed, and I hope we're not imposing on you returning this early, but thank you again for opening your home to us.
Of course.
Don't worry.
He blinks at Amity.
Truffle is nice.
He looks down and sees Truffle. Oh, well, that's a beautiful little piglet you have there. What's its name? You said Truffle?
That's right. Truffle.
Well, more than welcome here. And I assure you, we have our own herd to tend to. Though if you need a bit of extra feed, perhaps we can look into putting something together.
Oh, thank you so much.
He nods toward you and then glances toward Ismark and Irina, who have made their way inside and kind of look a bit grateful to be out of the chill. Did you find what you were looking for up at the Abbey? Ismark just shakes his head, and Irina sighs. Not as such, but we are, again, incredibly grateful for the hospitality. If there's anything that we can do to pay you back or anything, and that Dimitri nods, well, we can certainly discuss that, but for now, if you'd like to put your things down, we can have a bit of a chat.
Is there somewhere that you would like us to put our things down?
He nods toward the 2 empty beds toward the window. You can put your things over there. I'm afraid we only have the 2 spare beds, but if you'd like to arrange them as best you can. Might have to do some divvying up of the space, but...
I'm sure we'll manage. We're quite creative, aren't we? And yeah, Metron will start to go over and put his stuff, kind of check out the scene and maybe put some stuff away.
Likewise, Earthendeer will just gratefully drop off his pack with a clunk and start peeling off his cloak. Thank you. Man, I always forget how hard it is to carry a pack for this consistently during the day. It's murder on the shoulders.
Lillison is going to look over towards the beds, see how many people are already placing their stuff near the beds, and look more towards the fire. Does it look like there's like an empty spot near the fire that could hold like a sleeping bag?
It does, yeah. There seems to be ample space. There's a small rug next to it. It looks like that you could probably set up there without too much difficulty.
Yeah, she's going to, unsling her bag, rub at her shoulders a bit, and then place her bedroll in that space with a sort of like meaningful thunk.
After watching Lillison do that, Kiva's also going to go put her stuff down by the fire, but give Lillison her personal space, but she's not going to take up space near the beds.
Metron shrugs and gives a look of, oh, more bed for me.
Beds for the boys. That seems to be the way it is.
Well, the boys and the girlfriend.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, did you not know? We've got some happy bells ringing in the air.
Earthendeer is going just like incredibly crimson.
Wait, what?
Amity, yeah, it's already crimson, so.
Kiva will dramatically bow in front of the happy couple and say, all my regards to you. Enjoy your comfortable bed together, but try not to wake all of us up in the middle of the night.
Earthendeer just is like gaping like a fish at thanks. Much appreciated.
I don't actually know how comfy it would be to get to sleep, right next to someone, but I guess we can try.
We'll work this out later. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, Metron is not hiding it, but he's looking at Amity with this expression of confusion and disgust. And starts kind of try to avert his gaze from Earthendeer and Amity. Yeah, well, maybe we just give to bed to Arena and Ismark then, yeah?
There's 2. We'll figure it out later. That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
You're still a bit shaky. All right. So, apart from all the bad business, he kind of looks at the Krezkovs. Is there any way we can be of assistance? I know having this many folks over is a lot of hassle. Any way we can make your lives easier?
Anna nods and steps forward. Quite. Well, since you're here, and since we are offering hospitality, your assistance in completing any tasks would be appreciated. There are a number of things to be taken care of, and, well, we would be appreciative of any efforts you might be able to make. She kind of surveys the room briefly. Tell me, which of you has any experience attending to animals or outdoor labor?
Oh, I have quite a bit.
I'm pretty handy in a garden, but that's about it.
She nods. That will do. Well, you seem to have some experience with pigs, so if you wouldn't mind mucking at the pig pen, Dimitri will show you where it is and where the tools are. And as for you, there is we have a neighbor next door whose garden we occasionally tend to. If you wouldn't mind handling the weeding, that would be most welcome.
Of course, happy to help.
Very good. And I suspect a bit less experience for the rest of you. At this, Ismar kind of shrugs. I'm good for anything that needs a bit of elbow grease. She nods. Good. Then if you wouldn't mind chopping the wood, it's out in the back next to the cemetery. You can't miss it. The axe is already there.
If there's anything that needs fixing or mending, I'm a pretty dab hand with that.
Well, there is a bit of a frayed edge of one of our chicken coops. Perhaps you and her, and she nods at Irina, if you wouldn't mind collecting the eggs, and if you happen to be a hand with mending things, taking a look at that bit as well.
Oh, yeah, that'd be lovely.
Excellent.
Is there any darning or mending of clothes that I could do?
She frowns. Not as such, but there is one more thing if you hadn't exceptional expertise in more manual work. We'd been promised a pail of cow's milk from our neighbor Tehran. If you wouldn't mind fetching it for us so that we can properly prepare it for meals and dinner.
Yes, I can certainly do that.
Very good. Well, I will be attending to things in the home, but if you have any questions, you do know where to find me.
Of course, my lady. Thank you.
She nods and makes her way toward the side of the room where you see the door leading off to the side chamber and passes through it. Dimitri chuckles quietly. Well, there's honor for you. Now, let me show you what you need to get the jobs done.
It really is the sort of place where everybody pitches in, isn't it? And Lilson just smiles very gently.
Earthrendeer whispers, I was honestly expecting them to turn me down, but this works too. And he kind of steals a look at Irina. Hey, want to go get this over with before we get any more comfortable in the warm?
Irina nods. Of course. Let's say I take care of the eggs and you take care of whatever needs fixing?
Works for me.
All right, let's do it. Dimitri shows you through the double doors to the southern side of the cottage, which actually opens up to a space with a large assembly of an indoor pig pen filled with perhaps a dozen pigs. And off to the side, you see a pair of indoor chicken coops from which you hear the clucking of chickens, mixing with the soft snuffling of the pigs on the other side of this chamber. To the left side, you see a pair of double doors that appear to lead outside. And as Dimitri opens the gate, the pigs squealing excitedly at him, he chuckles and pushes a few of them aside, making his way to the doors to the outside, pushing them open. You see a soft, misty graveyard surrounded by snowy pine trees and faint bits of greenish gray grass poking through the cover. He nods out back. First toward Kiva. The garden's first house to the right. You can't miss it. As for you lot, and he nods toward Ismark, the logs are already stacked out back. Right there, and he jerks a finger toward the rear of the cemetery. He frowns toward Metreon.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Why don't you help your friend out with the garden?
You know what, actually, I'll help my friend out with the pig pen, if you don't mind.
He shrugs. Suit yourself. Here, let me show you how. And he begins moving around and taking out the necessary materials for the pig pen, while leaving Irina and Earthrendeer to the chicken coop.
Kiva just slips off as soon as she's given a direction and goes to work in the garden. Very relieved, I think, for some alone time.
Okay.
Earthrendeer will gladly head off to start mending the frayed fence that he told him about, but kind of as they work, he looks at Irina, who's, I presume, is gathering the eggs, and says, Hey, so I realize this is a bit abrupt, but how are you feeling about all this business with Esmeralda and the like? Like what they were saying in there, all that stuff in the Abbey? Like, our lives have just gotten a lot more complicated all of a sudden.
She frowns and nods. Yes, it's been a lot to think about. I'm not sure if I've really understood how to parse it yet. So sorry if I don't really know how to answer that now. It's a lot.
Hey, I'm not asking for an answer. I'm just asking for an opinion. It is a lot. But yeah, he kind of rubs his hands together uncomfortably. I presume you noticed that the golem that she had a striking resemblance.
She winces. It's not something I'm entirely comfortable with.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. There's a lot of implications, and none of them are good. So I'm sorry. That's just. Ugh.
No, it's fine. It's just they gave me a lot to think about.
Well, I got nothing better to do. What are you thinking?
She sighs. I asked Esmeralda something while we were there, and what she told me, it's been difficult to shake. You know things about magic, right?
I studied it for quite a long time, yeah.
Have you ever heard of someone living multiple lifetimes?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's very common, actually.
Really? I've never heard of it.
Well, you wouldn't. It's not traditionally a human thing, as far as I'm informed. And he kind of goes into a brief but exhaustive explanation of elf souls. So yeah, no, we basically, it's not that we're the same person every time, but the same soul gets recycled through new bodies. It's really beautiful.
She blinks, nodding. It does sound that way. And do you ever remember what this was like before?
He nods. Yeah, he looks a bit wistful. It's odd, because for us it's usually just childhood, but I do get flashes sometimes when I'm trancing. I think there was a few women, a few men, I think there was quite a few farmers, a couple of wood carvers, one man who I'm pretty sure was a murderer. I don't like those particular memories, but yeah, I get bits and pieces.
That's so fascinating. I never thought of it really possible that way. It's just when Esmeralda mentioned, she said that people in Barovia usually, I still don't know how to parse this ever since the little girl said that about the man in the boat, but the idea that someone could be born without a soul was so strange to me. It's so awful, and I didn't know what to think about it. And then she said that in Barovia, either you're born without a soul, or she mentioned old souls. And
yeah.
I was curious, and I wanted to know. I suppose it might be vain, and I'm still not sure I believe it, but I guess I wanted to know, because she seemed to know so much, whether... Well, then she kind of looks away, eyes a bit downcast.
Erthadir kind of soaks this in, still murmuring the words to the mending spells. He works on another section of the fence. Well, you're wondering if you might be one?
Well, my actual question was, did she think that I don't have a soul?
His head shoots up, right?
Maybe that was why he was so interested in me. I mean, wouldn't a vampire love pursue something that had no soul? And then she just looked at me and said that she was shocked I even asked. she said that, as far as she believed, she thought that I might be one of those. She kind of pauses and says the word slowly as if tasting it. Old souls.
Earthrendeer just stops the spell and sits down on the fence next to her. Hey. Do you think, does that feel right? I don't know.
No, it's a reasonable question. I guess when you mentioned, the way that elves live multiple lifetimes and the way that they see things that they used to live, things that used to mean something to them, it's just the dreams that I've always had, the way that I see faces and names, and one face in particular that keeps vanishing out of my reach. I don't know, it seems right somehow. Maybe there's someone that I knew, someone that I lost. I guess I sound kind of crazy.
Oh, not remotely. This is actually really common. They're young elves. I went through some a lot like what you did when I was in my early 30s. When your memories start to fade, a lot of folks start to get into a panic because, like, they feel like they're losing something integral, so they try and track down who they were, what they were, because they feel like they're about to lose something important. It's not weird at all.
She gives you a faint smile. Thanks. It's comforting to hear you say that.
Yeah. And hey, honestly, if that does turn out to be right, and for whatever reason you're reincarnated like an elf, not a bad thing. Like, your old lives have as much or as little as you want to do with them. Like, you're not, if you want to explore that, then we're going to be here for a while. I'm happy to help you find what we can, but it doesn't have to be you,
She chuckles and nods. No, I understand that. And I think, it's strange. There's not much that I've wanted to do. I mean, I've obviously wanted to, help my brother, to do what I can for my family and to help the people of my village, but it's so strange. Like, whenever I see that face or have those dreams or those feelings, it feels like whoever I was, if I was someone else, was so sad that she had lost something and that she was so afraid that she would never see it again. I think I would like to know what that was.
Earthendeer just kind of smiles and puts a hand on top of hers for a moment before pulling it away. No, that, yeah, I get kind of not knowing why you're not having much to work towards. So, if you want to know, then let's find out. We got time, and we'll figure it out. And hey, if it, once you figure out who you are, then maybe you'll feel a bit better about where you're going. Kind of get a sense of what's been haunting you all these years.
I guess that makes sense. You have to do one thing before another, I guess.
It helps. I have to remember that sometimes. I'm always at 50 places at once.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should probably finish up with the chickens.
Yeah, if they see us sitting down, I know I'd be mad.
There's a clucking noise and the flapping of wings, and then Irina glances up to see a red hen perched atop her head. She gasps and then chuckles and kind of swats it as it as it clucks again and flutters away to the top of the coop. Well, I guess someone wants us to get back to work.
Very fancy hat. I approve.
Only the fanciest. And she returns to the coop and removing the eggs as you return to your task of fixing the fence. As she does, Lillison, you make your way out from the cottage, passing through the light earthen streets of Krezk, making your way toward the directions that the Baron provided. As you do, you approach a small cottage, a similar structure to the others around it, a single story, deeper than it is wide, and you can see just beside it, next to a patch of grass that has been slightly depleted, a pair of cows that seem to be just quietly munching on the grass. The front door quietly stands closed at the front, facing the road.
Lillison will take a moment to look at the cows, see if they look friendly.
Looking at the cows, they do in fact look friendly. You see one of them just kind of has this very slightly dozy expression on its face, just kind of a distant cow-ish look, just happily chewing on the grass. And as you look, you actually notice standing behind that cow, milking the other one, you see what seems to be a man wearing a simple brown robe and workman's clothes, milking the cow into what looks to be a wooden pail.
Lillison will glance towards the front door, glance back towards the cow, and then step over towards the cow and the man milking her, and just raise her arm and wave. Good evening. The Baron sent me to collect a pail of milk.
The man pauses and then kind of pushes his stool back from where he'd been sitting, standing up and wiping away his brow where some of the powdered snow had collected. He's a bit of a squat man with dark hair kind of shoved unceremoniously out of his eyes. He blinks at you. Oh, hello. You said, what did the... I haven't seen you around before.
No, I'm newly arrived in town. Will probably be gone again tomorrow.
Ah, right. He nods. What did the Baron want?
It was actually the Baroness. She mentioned collecting a pail of milk. I think she was going to make something with it.
Oh. He nods and grunts and shrugs over toward the side of the cottage where you can now see 3 wooden pails that seem to be filled with cow's milk. You can grab one of them. That should fit the Baroness's need, yes?
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
He just grunts again and nods and turns back toward the cow, sitting back down on the stool.
Lilson's going to walk over, grab a pail, look a little surprised at how much it weighs, and then carefully stagger away, trying not to spill any.
Thankfully, you're able to make your way without spilling any of it. The milk wobbles a little bit in the pail as you make it, but it smells... you can feel that it's kind of cool and smells kind of sweet as you make your way down the path toward the Baron's cottage and away from the cows, who watch you go with a slight bit of disinterest. You make your way back toward the Baron's cottage, passing through the front door onto the inside. As you do, you see Anna Kreskova nod toward you. She appears to be stoking the fire. Very good, girl. Put that down on the table, and I'll tend to it in a moment.
Lilson will carefully place it down, but once it's out of her hands, she is going to let out an explosive sigh, stretch her shoulders a little bit, and then go back to her stuff and bring out her knitting.
As you step away from the table, sweet smell catches your nose again, but this time sickeningly sweet. Almost unpleasant. You catch the faint scent of something bitter and sour,
She's
seeming
going
to come
to
from the pail you just left.
she's going to jerk her head up and then go back and take a careful look inside the pail.
You glance down at the pail, and where you'd once seen a smooth white surface, you now see a large substance floating in it. You see that the milk is now soured in places, the scent penetrating your nostrils almost sickeningly as you feel a bit of bile curl up in the back of your throat as you watch large chunks of bloated, rotted cream floating in the mass, bobbing up and down like milky corpses in the substance.
Wilson
At that moment, you
stands
feel a shiver
very
down
still.
your spine and you feel goosebumps rising on your skin. And as you touch there, you feel the cold and the slowness of your pulse.
Lillison stands very, very still for a moment. Her eyes move towards where the Baroness is. And then she is going to just cautiously slip out the door back onto the street.
You do so easily enough, Anna sparing you a brief, confused glance before the door shuts tight behind you, leaving you alone on the road in front of the Baron's cottage.
Wilson's gonna head back towards where the man and the cow are, in as much a sneaky manner as possible.
All right, if you'd like to make a stealth check, you may.
That is a 9 stealth.
9. You pass back toward the farmer's cottage, and as you do, you pass through the snow and step on a pine twig that had been lurking under the white cover. The man who by now had been leaning up against the side of the wall, glancing over some of the materials there, grunts and glances up at you. Oh, you're back. Did you need something else?
I was just wondering if your cows are feeling well.
He frowns, looking slightly taken aback. Of course they are. They are healthy cows. Healthiest in Krezk. Why, is my milk not good for the Baroness?
There's I think the pail I selected might have gone off a bit.
He frowns. There is nothing wrong with my cow's milk. Make a persuasion check for me.
That is a 21.
It might be something in the earnestness of your voice or the look in your eyes, but after a moment of glancing at you, he sighs and shrugs his shoulders. Fine. If it's so important to the Baroness, then I assure you that all of my cows produce only the finest milk in Krezk, but if you need perhaps another pail, then I suppose you can take one. But tell Dmitri that he owes me after this, all right?
All right. Thank you. And I'm very, very glad that your cows are doing well.
He nods, grunts, and then mutters to himself as he turns back away to the cow and begins brushing some of the snow off of its hide.
Lillison this time is not even gonna try to be subtle about it. She's just going to cast Mage Hand and carry the pail with her Mage Hand at a distance.
He doesn't seem to pay much attention, though. He does look at you with a bit of a strange look as he notices you making your way away with the pail seeming to be carried by something other than your hand. As you do so, not before making your way halfway back to the cottage, however, that sickly sweet smell touches your nostrils again, this time redoubled. Without looking, you can now hear from the pail the faint buzzing of some unseen creature.
Lillison is going to just stop halfway back to the house, set the pail down. She's been trying to walk as far away from it as possible up until now, and just look inside.
Looking inside, you can see the sour curdled milk now almost so thick that it's formed into this yellowish mass, in places almost colored with bits of blackish and greenish mold. You can hear the buzzing of flies and small writhing black specks that almost resemble maggots in the depths of the curdled, bloated milk. And you know for a fact that it was as pure white as cream when you first took it. But what you see now is just rot and decay.
Lillison abandons the pail and turns and runs towards where she had seen the pool.
All right, you make your way, chest heaving, panting, as you run through the snowy paths of the village. You're heading toward the pool you saw from the switchback path.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. You pass quickly through the village, a few individuals giving you strange looks or looking at you slightly oddly or with some trepidation at the sight of your fleeing form. Before long, however, it's only a few minutes before you arrive at your destination, and even under gray skies, the pool at the north end of the village shimmers and sparkles. Near its shore sits an old gazebo on the verge of collapse, and a wooden statue, or a mournful bare-chested man, its paint chipped and faded, stands in the gazebo with arms outstretched, as though waiting to be embraced. And as you look out upon it, you feel your breath slowly calming in your chest, some of the trepidation vanishing, but still some of it lingering in the back of your mind.
Lillison looks as if she wants to pelt straight towards the gazebo, but she stops up short a few feet away and looks down at her hands, shakes her head with a disgusted look, and just sits down in the snow.
It's cold, but in your current state, you barely feel it as it just crunches beneath you, the soft, frost-dusted blades of grass crumpling beneath your weight. You can see the darkish blue surface of the pool shimmering in the approaching afternoon light of the Krezk sky, the snow slowly pittering out, and just a cool breeze shuffling through the northern end behind the walls.
She's going to be there for a while.
All right. Slowly, you catch your breath looking out over the old, weather-worn gazebo and the soft glint of the pool, and await for the tension to leave your muscles and the peace to return to your mind, as elsewhere in the village, your friends continue their tasks. Kiva and Metreon, you're able to easily make your way.
Amity.
Kiva, you're able to easily make your way to the garden as directed by Dimitri. You can see it seems to be full of several root vegetables. You see turnips and beets. You can see what seem to be a few cabbages sticking out of the soil, as well as a number of weeds poking out of the earth as well. Behind you, you hear heavier footsteps stepping through the snow. As glancing back, you see Ismark stepping his way through the cemetery, where you can see at the other end, beyond several scattered old headstones, a large stump of a tree with an axe half embedded in the surface and a large pile of several dozen logs stacked up behind it. As you make your way toward the garden, you see Ismark grab the axe, survey the logs for a moment, and then pick one up and put it on the stump, splitting it with a loud thwunk.
Kiva does sort of start a little bit watching this and sort of shivers with an unpleasant memory, and then just continues her way to the garden.
Okay. You pass over toward the garden. As you do, you almost half trip over a headstone that you hadn't quite seen, slightly smaller than the others and shifted off to the side. You glance over it for a moment, and as you do, you see the name embedded in the headstone there. It reads, Merrick, 7:31 to 7:31. Beloved son, sleep well.
Kiva trips over her feet a little bit because she's as she's walking, she just casts a glance down and then she realizes what she's seen, and the name causes her to do the double take first, and then the lifespan causes her to do another one. And she can feel that burning, scratching in her throat, and her eyes starting to water, and she dusts some snow off of it, but then she just walks away and swallows whatever feeling that elicited in her.
You glance over the date and note that the year actually is fairly recent, only 4 years ago.
Yeah. It just it hits her in a way, especially knowing now that she knows from Esmeralda that things are not necessarily the way she had planned them anymore regarding souls. Yeah, it's tough. It hits her hard.
Is there anything you do there?
I think she would get down and she's just gonna say not so much a prayer, but just sort of a blessing for the dead that she learned from her father, and sits just to give the boy some company for a little bit, and then she'll go on to the garden.
As you get up, you hear the thwunk of Ismark's axe in the wood, and then silence. And as you kneel down in the garden, the lack of silence hits you. And as you just glance over your shoulder for a moment, you see Ismark not standing at the log or the stump, the axe missing, and you see the rustling of a pair of pine branches as a silhouette vanishes into the tree line beyond the cemetery.
Kiva would just immediately think that something happened to Ismark, so she's going to go check it out.
You follow through, passing by the cemetery and the split logs of wood. As you do, you hear, coming into earshot now, another thwunk. Soft at first, and then louder again, pounding metal into wood. It's a steady heartbeat, pound, pound, pound. And as you glance through the boughs of one of the pine trees, you see Ismark. His back to you, the axe raised high in his hands, every muscle of his body clenched. Several scars along the side of the tree. And then you hear just faintly muffled through the snow a snarl as he slams the trunk several consecutive times, dragging the axe down the side of it, and then slowly collapses to his knees, quietly sobbing.
Kiva, again, that sort of violent display gets to her, and she has to steel herself forward to go investigate, but she is very much feeling like a scared child. And once he collapses, she goes over and just crouches down next to him and puts her head on his shoulder and starts crying as well. He
immediately startles, dropping the axe and flinching as he turns toward you. You see tears thicken his eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't think anyone was around.
No. Are you all right? I feel like that's a stupid question, but look, I'm just saying, you're not alone in what you're feeling. So if you want to talk, I'm here.
He swallows and closes his eyes. We came so far. We did all this. You did all this. And for what? There is nowhere left.
Look, I know I haven't known you long, and I know I haven't known your sister long, and I know that this might not be any comfort, but it's all I have to say that sometimes a home is not a building or a church or anything that you can build. Sometimes it's a group of people. And I would trust you with my life. And I hope you know that you can do the same with me. And as long as I live, Ismark, I'm not going to let anything happen to you and your sister.
He shakes his head. No, you shouldn't trust anything to me. I couldn't even touch one of his servants. How can I keep her safe?
You have to try.
Trying's not good enough. Even if he's looked elsewhere for now, he's going to be back. I know it. And he won't just be back for you, he'll be back for her. And I can't even touch him.
I can. I did. It healed right away, but he bleeds. I saw it. I did it. And I know that it's going to be a fight for all of us and all of our lives, but no man can continue this behavior unchallenged for this long. You heard what that woman said in the Abbey, Esmeralda. We're ready to learn from her, and I really think we can do this. I have to believe that we can. But I saw him bleed. On my blade.
I know you saw what you saw, but if he was here right now, could we do anything to stop him? If he wanted my sister and he wanted to take her, could we do anything at all?
I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you and say that, yes, the 5 of us and you would be able to stop him. But the fact that there are people willing to try has to be enough of a reason to keep going. We're going to talk to that woman that Vistani's here, and she's going to help us. She's going to give us information. And if that doesn't work, then we'll keep trying to find the next thing. But Ismark, you have an entire group of people who are willing to fight for her safety.
He closes his eyes and just breathes out, and then opens them and just looks so tired. I know, and I'm so grateful, and I know that maybe after you've heard from this Ava, maybe I would feel better about the idea of someday someone killing the devil. But right now I just want to see my little sister safe. Every day that she's out on those roads, that is a day that I know that, as much as she might smile and laugh and pretend otherwise, is a day that I can't protect her. And I know that she doesn't want to be something to be protected. I know that she wants to be more than that, and she deserves to be. But I can't give that to her. Do you understand?
Ismark, I understand, I think, more than you know. What it means to not be able to protect someone that you love. I can't tell you that you're going to be able to save the day all the time. I can't even tell you that you're going to be able to save the day once. Unfortunately, all it takes is one time and one missed opportunity, and the people that we love can be gone forever.
His shoulders tremble slightly, and he draws a ragged breath. I just want to find somewhere that she can be safe. Because Krezk's not that. The abbot, I don't know what he is, but he can't protect my sister.
So we keep trying until we find a place that is safe. That is the only thing we can do. But giving up and just saying there's nothing to do and getting stuck in that feeling doesn't help anyone. Right now, she is happy and she is safe and she's with people that care about her. And for now, that is all we can ask for. And then we keep going in the morning. We keep trying and we keep trying to keep her safe. And that's just what we do until it either doesn't work or we win.
He nods, sniffles, and hiccups, which sounds somewhat strange given the deep timbre of his voice. But then he nods and slowly gets to his feet and brushes the snow off his shoulders from where the tree boughs had shrugged it off onto him. Thank you, and I'm sorry that you had to see that. I should probably get back to my chores. But thank you, really.
Yeah, anytime, Ismark. And Kiva gives him just a friendly pat on the shoulder, and then she walks away, but she feels even worse than she did when she got there.
You just hear the shuffling and the crunching of Ismark's boots through the snow. And then after a little while, the splitting of distant logs as the weeded garden comes back into view around you. And you return to your work.
All right.
As for Amity and Metreon, the process of mucking out the pig pens is a grimy one, in some ways unpleasant for those who have not done it before. But Amity, you are quite familiar with the process and are able to dispatch of it with some speed and expedience. By the end of it, the both of you are a bit grimy and mucky, and
Oh no, Metreon's not helping him or her.
Oh, well.
He's doing that thing where he's sort of overseeing her.
supervising.
Yeah, exactly. Pointing things out, maybe.
Gotcha. Well, in that case, it'll take a little bit slower. But Amity, the work itself is not entirely strange to you. Truffle seems intrigued by the large, strange pigs, though every time one snuffles in his direction, he squeals and then scampers back behind your leg. But seems curious. And by the time you're halfway through, you can see a notable part of the pig pen is now cleaned out. The pigs looking far happier on that side as they begin to happily snuffle and make their way about.
Amity's sort of trying to teach Metreon how to do it. So it's important to give them a soft and warm bed.
Well, What's Amity's passive again?
Oh, it's probably like -6. Let me check.
Okay.
I think it's like 8.
Okay.
I'm not seeing it immediately on the sheet. Maybe it's
Okay.
9.
All right. So you might notice a little bit of kind of hesitation, not just at the task, but maybe at the sight of all these small farm animals. But yeah, he'll kind of like kneel down next to her as if kind of intently watching, but maybe not retaining any of the information that she's giving him. Right, yeah, okay, yeah. Hey, can we talk?
Sure. What about?
What is it back there, you and him?
I guess ever since we got here, I've just looked up to the way he does stuff. Like, he's knowledgeable and sweet, and I don't know if I should really say that he's a hero. Maybe I shouldn't. Why do you ask?
I mean, it's a bit strange, isn't it? It's only been a 10-day, right? And
I mean, it's not like we're doing anything serious yet.
I'm just saying,
Is it?
don't put too much faith into him, into any of this. It's all. This is just. I know you're your own woman and all that, but this is. Just don't. Be careful. It's this whole thing. If you're really interested in him and we survive all this, and this is a thing. This is a thing for you, but you may want that to last a lifetime, and for you it would be, and for him you're a one-night stand for him, proportionately, time-wise.
Oh. No, I mean, I knew. I just hoped that I wouldn't have to think about it.
Well, you should, because he's not gonna. They're kind.
You don't think that
folks
he's
like
going
him
to?
don't. I'm sorry. Go on.
No. I guess that's a good point. I mean, at some point he's gonna want someone else.
It's not even about wanting someone else. It's just about folks like us is irrelevant to them. It's we're moments in time. We're just things to keep them busy.
I mean, well, I think that he actually does, well, love me.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Everyone, all of us are scared to die here, right? We might not live to see 1,000 years.
Just to make sure, you're saying this like you might have some kind of experience with, like, maybe dating an elf, or maybe someone with like a much shorter lifespan or something like that. If so, if you have any like relationship advice, then I'm all ears.
No, I ain't never dated no one like him, but I know them. I know how time can be cruel for people like us who live 60, 70, 80 years, and I know how they look down on us when we live our lives like that, and they just get to keep going.
I guess at some point I'm gonna have to think about it. I mean, I am taking care of Truffle and all.
I mean, listen, we all
But
gotta go sometime, right?
To be honest, I prefer not to think about this kind of thing until I have to.
I'm sorry to bring it up
Amity
to
is trying to concentrate on continuing to clean the pig pen, even if she carries the conversation on.
you. Yeah, Metron kind of picks up on that and just kind of backs away a bit, knowing that he's now made her uncomfortable, and feels a little bit guilty about that. Kind of as he's moving away, looks down at Truffle, kind of just sees him, doing his Truffle thing, and just kind of like goes back to where he was by like a nearby banister or something, and just sort of watches Amity.
If anything, I think that's a warning for Ethandir, not for me. I mean, I'll be able to have him for my whole life, but he might not get to have that. I mean, if this does turn into anything serious, it's a bit weird, like thinking about it like that right now. But
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of fun is fine. I just think that, well, you're young. How many boyfriends you got, or partners rather? And I don't want to assume.
I had sort of one boyfriend before, but it didn't last very long. It was I guess it was mostly dating for a bit and then being like, eh.
So I mean, I'm not necessarily the kind of guy who just hops into relationships, but I've seen them and I know how people work, and and then as he starts to say this, like you notice that he's almost struggling to process something as he's talking, and there's this conflict of saying these things that almost feel programmed versus him being confronted with the reality that you're kind of bringing to him.
Amity's clearly not telling the entire story about her previous relationship. But yeah, given how Metron's talking about this, I guess. I mean, I guess thank you for coming to me. I do really value your advice here, and I shouldn't just take it so flippantly. I just, it's a bit hard to follow if the advice is just like, break up now.
Oh, it's just, if it's going to happen, just make sure that it happens smart. That you're protecting yourself and that you're guarded, and that whatever happens, you come out all right. Because he's gonna come out all right either way.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean by like guarding myself. I mean, well,
just don't be stupid. Keep you and that pig is the most important thing to you. Just always remember that.
All right. I'm not going to like let him exploit me or anything.
You see him cringe when you say that word.
I feel like I'm making you uncomfortable now.
No,
I'm sorry.
I brought it up. Listen, I brought it up, so maybe we should just get back to work. Yeah. Let's crack on. And Metron will go back to resuming watching Amity do all the work.
Anything else from Amity? Or will she return to work as well?
She will return to work as well.
Okay. So you do, completing the mucking out of the pig pen with some very grateful pigs snuffling happily as you're able to usher them back into their now cleaned out pens. As you do, you see Erthrundir and Irina making their way back out of the part of the room with the chicken coops, baskets under arm with several dozen eggs in them. A few minutes later, after you make your way back into the main room and continue any tasks or personal things that you would like to work on, you hear the bootsteps coming through the back entrance as you see Ismark enter, grunting and setting his cloak aside on one of the beds.
They did not mean a few holes in that fence. That thing was being held together by twine and prayers. How'd y'all's go?
Oh, we was a winning team.
Oh, splendid. And, some smells kind of, ugh. It's like a bottle, like some cream in the hot sun. Gross.
Yeah, I thought that was you, but
Yeah. Oh, shush. I smell better than you.
Metron glares.
You know it's true.
Well, anyway, where is it coming from? And Metron kind of starts to like sniff the air and tries his best to follow the scent.
I washed up all right? Amity like turns around and like I guess smells her tail just to check.
Yeah, you're fine.
It doesn't take very much sniffing around to find the source of the sickly smell, and as you do, you find on the center of the table on the side of the room a pail that seems to be filled with what once was milk but is now soured and curdled beyond recognition.
Oh, fuck
The
me
smell
running.
is terrible.
Let's get Erthandir just kind of holds his nose, grabbing the pail.
Why did I even have that in here? God damn.
You hear footsteps as from the other side of the room you hear a door opening and Anna Kreskova steps out. Goodness, what are you clustered around looking at?
Think some of the milk you got's gone a bit rancid.
She steps forward, frowning, and blinks down. My word, that's the stench I've been smelling. Goodness. If one of you wouldn't mind disposing of it. And as she says that, you hear a knock at the door. She frowns and just nods toward the pail and then steps toward the front door, leaving you behind on the table.
Erthandir will pick this thing up with two hands, like obviously like trembling, and just walk toward the side door. Oh, always forget how much water weighs. Yeah, he will make it a comfortable distance outside and then chuck it into the snow.
Yeah, Metron will watch him from the table as he leaves the house, but then he'll kind of keep his eyes on Anna and the front door.
You see it open as someone standing on the other side wearing a simple robe and what seems to be like a bonnet of sorts. On the other side, greets Anna, speaking in quiet, somewhat excited tones. Anna nods and then turns back toward you. Well, I don't suppose any of you are priests, are you?
Metron puts his hand on the holy symbol that he has from Father Lucian for just a moment. No, none of us.
Didn't think so, but figured I'd ask. I'll be going off with Kretiana here. I should be back in a few hours. If Dimitri needs anything, let him know you're here to help. Understood?
Yeah, right. Amity, yeah?
Right.
Yeah,
Very good.
Take care.
You as well. And she reaches up to a hook on the wall and pulls her robe back over herself, stepping back into the snow after the woman and closing the door behind her.
As she leaves, Metron just kind of like winces and looks over at Amity and Erthandir, and kind of like, as he does, looks at Erthandir and then looks down at himself and kind of sniffs his tunic. Why don't one of you know how to prestidigitate?
Oh, that whole business. They offered to teach me back in college, but I don't trust it. Like, I knew a guy who would just never wash his clothes and just cast that spell every morning. We called him the walking grease ball. I was put off a bit after that.
Ugh. I'm gonna go find Kiva.
Yeah, good plan. And is Lillison still out?
I assume so. Well, she was milking things. Wait, she was milking things.
Yeah. Oh, huh. Maybe she's getting some fresh milk after these went bad.
Metron just like is wide-eyed looking at Amity, like, oh shit.
I guess Amity notices, like, wait, so are you worried that she's like snuck out?
No, I'm worried that she fucking did that to milk.
Oh, wait. What? What even? What? Like, not even like a zombie would do that, right? Does that
No,
even
but
make?
I mean, there's other kinds of spirits that do weird shit. I don't know. But if she's the one milking it and then it comes back rancid and she just leaves it here, there's something going on.
Earthendeer clears his throat. Hey, is something wrong?
Maybe.
What's up?
I guess how would you feel about maybe checking on the milk ourselves?
Sure. Yeah, no, that sounds fine. We can see if we can find Lillison.
No, let's just do it ourselves first. And then...
That's kind of what I meant. It seems like that's where she'd be.
Oh, yeah, I got you. All right.
All right, yeah, sure. Y'all seem very concerned about these cows.
Well, given what was in that bucket, I mean, I'd be concerned about any cow.
Point taken. If that's coming out of the udder like that, you got problems.
I don't know how much. I know you're not really like a farming kind of person, but you should know that it's not supposed to come out like that.
I presumed as much. Although, admittedly, I don't like animals and they don't like me. With one exception.
Well, we know that.
That was life or death. I'm not normally in the habit of let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, let's go find the milk racket.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and try to find. We're gonna go ahead and try and find a cow, and maybe a little.
Okay. You make your way out of the Baron's cottage, leaving it behind. Passing through the area nearby, it's not long before you find a nearby cottage with a pair of cows peacefully grazing outside. As you do, passing just outside of the cottages, the cows begin to come into view. You see lying, actually, what's everyone's passive perceptions?
10.
Yeah, 10 as well. Oh,
Less
wait,
than
11.
10.
11
At
for
most
you.
10.
You have the same as me, Amity.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so it takes you a bit of time, and you don't really notice it until you've stepped into view of the cottage. But you smell that similar sickeningly sweet smell coming from the side of the road just to your left. And as you glance toward you can see standing alone on the side of the path, perhaps 30 feet from the cottage and the cows, just faintly overshadowed by the boughs of a pine tree over it, a wooden pail sitting there, and you hear the sound of faintly buzzing flies and a sickening, curdling stench that fills the air around it.
Are these cows cursed? Is that a thing?
I mean, we could ask the owner, see if this is a new phenomenon, if it's something that they've been dealing with.
I could ask the cows.
Is that too?
That's a better solution. See how they're doing.
Okay, I'm just gonna start rapping.
Cow voices.
Cow
We
voices.
want cavalry.
Come on, Dragna.
You get 10 minutes of ritual casting to prepare. Just say moo in a deep voice and then say whatever you want to say. That's how it works.
Sure. So while this abomination of a side quest is happening, what's Kiva doing?
Well, after she's done miserably weeding the garden, she's going to miserably just take a walk around Krezk. She doesn't really want to go into back with the others yet. So she's just sort of meandering around the whole village, wasting time and probably crying a little bit.
Very fair. You kind of make your way around. You notice that the village itself, aside from the road that seems to lead up the side of the mountain to the abbey, appears to be largely a single circuitous loop with a single branch that leads to the northern edge of town. You spend a good few minutes making your way around, looking at the villagers going about their lives and tending to their tasks and chores. Occasionally you see a family making their way through the pines. And after a while, you begin making your way northward along the lone stretch of road that continues north of the main center of town. As slowly coming into view at the end of this road, you can see a lonely, glistening pool that sits nestled quietly against the northern wall, just beside a gazebo containing a figure of a man with outstretched arms with peeling paint on the sides of the wooden silhouette. Beside it, just sitting in the snow, perhaps a few dozen feet from the snow, from the side of the pool, you see Lillison, snow dusting the top of her hair and the sides of her shoulders.
That would be a sight that would freak the fuck out of her. Does she look okay? Does she look alive? I mean, like...
I mean, Lillison is just sitting there with her arms around her knees, staring at nothing in particular, with snow coming down around her.
Well, Kiva would, definitely hurry over there upon seeing that, and just it sort of snaps her out of her own thoughts with the worry for another, and she just sort of gets close and puts her arms on Lillison's shoulders and just says, "Are you all right?"
I'm fine. Perhaps don't. And she wiggles her shoulders a little bit away from Kiva.
What do you... It's freezing and you're sitting in the snow.
Are you done yet with your task?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, smooth sailing.
Have you been back yet?
No, I'm actively trying to avoid going back, actually. And she's just gonna sit next to Lillison in the snow.
This is a wonderful place. These people, they all seem to care about each other and take care of each other, and it's a very wholesome sort of place.
Kiva snorts a little darkly and just says, yeah, as wholesome as you can find in this place. It seems fine. I don't know. I feel like every place we go is just full of more disappointment. But I'm glad you find it nice.
It seems like it might be a place of contentment, peace, for people who like that sort of thing.
Absolute savages who enjoy that sort of thing, you mean? She, quirks her lips into a smirk.
Lillison just sort of glances over, looking not quite comprehending.
I've sort of given up on trying to find peace in my life. Not really for me, I suppose.
I suppose that's certainly a choice.
I mean, do you want to stay here?
I don't belong here.
What's that supposed to mean?
A place of peace and contentment. It's not where I belong either.
Why do you say that? If you don't mind my asking.
Lillison is going to look over towards Kiva, and I would actually like to make an insight check, if that's okay.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
That is a 23 insight.
What is she checking for?
She is trying to check just like how genuine Kiva's apparent concern is, and whether there's like, anything else under the surface.
Well, I'm not even going to roll anything for it because it's very obvious to anyone who spends more than 2 seconds looking at her that her concern is genuine, but it is also a way to deflect from ever having to think about herself and her own life. So it is completely genuine, and she does very much care, but it is also a way to deflect from thinking about what is bothering her.
Okay. Lillison looks down at her hands, then slowly starts unwinding one of the chains of her focus from her fingers. A place so healthy, I suppose, does not deserve to be poisoned.
Well, unless you plan on poisoning their drinking water, I don't see how you could poison a place like this. I find your company a bit dry sometimes, but not particularly poisonous. And she sort of tries to do that thing that's like, I'm funny, right? Ha, ha.
Maybe it's too small a thing. Maybe the cow was actually just ill, but I couldn't even bring the milk back. I don't.
What are you talking about? Sick cows and you just had to go fetch a pail of milk.
I'm sure when we return, they'll be able to tell you what happened to that milk.
Was it bad or something?
It went bad between the time that I picked it up and the time that I brought it back, and so did the second pail.
You might be, and this is a very small list, but the unluckiest person in Barovia to have 2 pails of milk go bad.
It's not luck, Kiva.
So what do you think it is then?
It's me. It's something that has been with me all my life. I hurt and kill everybody and everything around me. It's my role in life, I suppose.
Am I to be counted among those lucky numbers of victims then?
I mean, It seems as though I have it under control to the point where if you're not in physical contact with me, I can delay the effects. But I was so happy earlier today. I thought the abbot had told me what was actually going on. I thought that he had given me a clue that there might be something to do about it, something to understand, but that was simply abstracting the problem, treating it as a mental game, and I have been reminded that this is a thing that has practical side effects.
So, you're saying you have the ability to curdle milk and poison people, but we've touched. You held my hands in that house. We ran through the basement together. I cried in your arms in Valakai. I touched you just now, and I feel fine. Kiva makes a point to, put her hand on Lillison's in an attempt to be reassuring that, you can't hurt me.
Lillison flinches away a little bit and then pauses. She takes Kiva's hand in both of her own and says, "You don't... No. It was a surprise to me back in Vallaki, back at that church when I have been killing people all my life, Kiva, and it was a shock to me to not be able to do anything to harm that creature."
You were fighting vampires? From my limited understanding of them in the 10 days that we have been here. Pretty resilient creatures. I wouldn't hold that against you. Look, this actually ties into what I wanted to talk to you about anyway, strangely enough. I'm not really a type of person who just beats around the bush, so I guess I'm just going to come out and say it. Something happened to you in that house, didn't it? Because I remember when I offered to sacrifice myself, you were the person that came to me and tried to talk me down. And you took my hand and I felt you. Warmth. And I've touched you since then and it's not there anymore. And there's reason to believe that maybe something happened to you there when I lost you and I thought you died. And then there you were when I woke up again. I'm not saying you're like him, obviously. If you were, I feel like we all would be vampires at this point, or dead, but there's something you're not telling us, and it's leading to some mistrust in the group. And fear, and I hoped I could talk to you and get to the bottom of it.
Nothing in particular happened in that house. This is the way I've always been. Kiva, I was a murderer before I even became a woman. It's something that just happens. It's who I am, and when that's something I can't do, I know that creatures like him they work differently and they're very difficult to kill, but when it's something that I try and I can't do it, it makes me feel like I'm not myself. And that I don't know how to deal with that. And I thought for a moment, strange as it is, numbing as it felt, it thought that perhaps, and as miserable as it is, I thought that perhaps if I'm not killing everybody I touch, I might find a place like this, a place where normal people are, but I still don't belong in a place like this.
Kiva's jaw tightens when she talks about being one thing and then not being that thing anymore. And then she just gives Lilson's hand a squeeze and says, well, if you lived with me, I'd just make sure that I fetched the milk every morning. Kept you away from cooking, and I think we could make a nice life here. People can be whatever they want to be. And I know what it feels like to lose a sense of yourself. I don't know what I am anymore. But who gives a fuck? You were a murderer in your past life, so was I. You were a daughter, presumably, although your backstory eludes me. I think you mentioned you were a sister. But right now you're Lillison, and you're my friend. And if there's something wrong with you, then we can fix it. But you haven't hurt us. And places like this are full of people with skeletons in their closet. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist, and doesn't mean you're not worthy of having a good thing.
Kiva, you're a very kind person, but... And she sort of self-consciously withdraws her hands. I have been able to live as long as I have with minimal harm to those around me by being very careful, and even brief periods of time touching another person is... I don't know how much harm I'm doing. It took years when we didn't know what was happening. It's not a quick thing, is all I'm saying.
Okay. It's something to keep an eye on then. I'll let you know if I start feeling sick.
Please do. Then we'll know a lot more, including if I'm back to normal.
Yeah. Look, you should go back. It's fucking freezing out here. And I know the cold doesn't seem to bother you, but you don't have to keep yourself away from everyone. We just won't touch you. But you deserve to have some sort of community.
Lillison opens her mouth to say something else, and then just lowers her head and looks at the pool.
Kiva looks down as well, and oh man, and then she just says, "This place is very beautiful."
It is. Didn't the Baron say that it was, or somebody say that it was blessed in some way?
Yeah, I think they did. I'm not sure what that means. The Abbey was supposedly blessed too, and he's building women. So maybe this place is just as corrupted, but it seems very nice.
I thought about running into the pool and then remembered that I probably shouldn't do that.
Well, I could, I don't know, take some water in my hands and splash you with it.
I would appreciate that very much, actually.
Yeah, you could use a shower too, so it's 2 jobs in 1, right?
Lillison looks taken aback a bit.
It was a joke. But she'll get up and she'll she'll go and she'll dip her hands into the pool and pull up a cup of water, and then she'll have an idea. Don't know if it's gonna work or do anything. She doesn't know that it's gonna do anything. I know that it's not gonna do anything, but she'll bring it over and she'll sort of dump it over the top of Lillison's head and then put her hands there and use her lay on hands again.
Okay. How much are you expending, and what are you expending it for?
The full 5, and I think she's going to try to, I guess, cure whatever she thinks is the disease that is afflicting her with that.
Mm-hmm. Lillison, you feel a warmth from Kiva's touch as shimmering small green vines and leaves blooming with brightly colored flowers brush lightly and gently across the side of your skin. There's a glittering of bluish fey light for a moment, and then it recedes. You don't feel different, but you feel a bit warmer and perhaps a bit more at peace.
Lillison smiles just a little bit. The water from the pool is probably like freezing on her eyelashes, and says, "You know, that woman, Vasilka, I was able to speak with her.
Really? What did she say?
She was... I don't know if the word resigned is right for it. There was one thing she said over and over again. I am who I am, and I will be who I will be.
Kiva recedes her touch from Millicent and looks very thoughtful in a very inward, introspective way. And then her face sort of flickers again with that disappointment, and she just looks back at her, sort of expecting her to continue what to say next.
Lillicent leans back a little bit as if, still expecting where Kiva had been touching. She seems not aware of it consciously and says, "It's strange. I know it's... The abbot kept saying that flesh golems are different in a sense, that they don't have the same sort of consciousness or growth that we do, but there was enough. She was enough that she reminded me very, very strongly of, well, of the way that I used to be when I thought that there was going to be nothing different, nothing more. There was just who I was and who I would be, and that was supposed to be enough to be contented with.
And what do you think now?
Well, we're here now, aren't we? We have, even if we wanted a life of peace and contemplation, you and I, Kiva, we are people who deal death, and there is finally an acceptable target.
Kiva blinks back a few tears, but nods in a resolved way.
It's strange having an acceptable target to be violent at. It's perhaps the most freeing feeling I've ever felt.
I'm happy for you, and you should hold on to it for as long as you can.
I don't know how long that will be. The hope, isn't it, is to get this done quickly.
As quick as it can, yeah. Could I just, could I have a moment alone here, and then maybe we can walk back together?
Yes, of course.
So once there's a little more privacy and she's alone at the pool, Kiva is going to unsheath her scimitar and look at it. And then she is going to dip it into the pool and just start scrubbing at it until her hands bleed. And keep scrubbing it. And only after her hands are thoroughly cut open is she going to pull it out and put it away.
And Willison presumably has gotten up and walked off to the other side of this little area and is not watching.
Yeah, she'll wrap her hands up in her cloak, sort of hide it, and then we'll just fall back into step with Willison and head back.
Okay. And as the two of you together stand once more and make your way back to the Baron's cottage through the snow, that is where we will take our break for today. So, as always, we will pick back up after a 15-minute break. So, to everyone watching, please enjoy a few other messages from our D&D community, including this week, a fireside chat with a very familiar face, our very own Serena, playing Kiva on Twice Bitten, for a conversation about narrative multiclassing, directionless characters, and exploring trauma respectfully through D&D storytelling. We'll see you all back here soon.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features where I, your host Job Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we are talking to Serena, a Strahd DM and the player of Kiva on Twice Bitten, about her character and how to explore the character's traumatic backstories. Who is Kiva and what drew to her character?
Kiva is complicated, but I know that's a bit of a cop-out, so I'll elaborate. I tend to use my D&D characters to explore my own feelings about motherhood, whether or not that's conscious at the time of character creation. The initial spark of an idea for Kiva was just a woman who has lost a child. That spiraled into a woman who has lost a child in a violent way, which further spiraled into a woman who has lost everything in a violent way, not just a child. I knew I didn't want her to have any family ties going into Barovia, and I knew that I didn't want her to have anything to live for, as bleak as that sounds, because I wanted her to find something in Barovia. She fascinated me because in a lot of ways we've experienced some of the same traumas, and her responses are so wildly different than mine. I am, believe it or not, an entirely non-confrontational person. I can get passive-aggressive, but I really don't like to fight. Kiva wants to be like that, but her fight or flight instinct at a very young age was dialed permanently into fight mode. Her rage was a biological response to outside stressors. And rage as a coping mechanism or a response to PTSD triggers was an angle of the barbarian that I really wanted to explore. I don't see a lot of barbarians who spend their entire lives trying to keep that rage bottled up. At the end of the day, Kiva is a mother, with a lot of baggage that she's been forced to process in arguably the worst possible space to do that. But, all things considered, she's doing much better than I'd be in her shoes.
How can a player create and play a character without a purpose? How has playing Kiva informed your experiences there?
This was another fascinating angle of character creation, and my interpretation of Dragna's character creation guidelines. When he told us that we had to play characters that were normal people, not heroes, I really leaned into that. I think we all struggle with finding a purpose at times, and growing up with depression, I really didn't plan on living as long as I have. When you start getting help and getting medicated and you start to live again, you realize, oh, fuck, like, what am I supposed to do with all this time? I went to school for theater, so I thought, this must be my purpose. Once the pandemic closed all of the theaters, I felt like I lost my purpose again. Kiva's in a similar boat. She grew up as a thief and never really wanted to be a mother, and then circumstances conspired to make her a mother anyway. She thought motherhood was her purpose, but then she lost her child and her purpose all at once. So she's going into Barovia with nothing, no idea of who she is or how she fits into the world. It's been really exciting from a storytelling perspective because it opens her up to potentially finding one along the way. Or not. She said it to Irina, I believe, in the Hillside conversation, that she's starting to feel okay with the notion that some people aren't given this divine plan to execute. She's alive. And for the first time in a long time, that's enough of a good thing for her to hold on to.
When, where, and how would you advise a player to multiclass for story or character reasons, rather than mechanical ones?
I really don't play D&D for the combat. I play it to tell really complicated and engaging stories with a group of people. So this kind of game, where optimization should be well out of our minds, is right up my alley. This is only the second character I've played that I've multiclassed without having a plan first. All of my other characters start as a general idea of which race and class combos I'd like to play. At the start, Kiva was only going to be a barbarian. I was going to take it up as far as the campaign would allow me to. When Kiva met Irina, a survivor like her, and began to see and experience firsthand the way Strahd victimizes anyone he comes in contact with, I started to get inklings that I might like to try to take her up to Paladin. Originally, her oath was going to be very, very different, but her devotion, wink wink, to the idea that no one should ever have to suffer the way that she did to uplift people who have survived such devastating traumas was fully shaped by her experiences in-game. I think Rule of Cool applies to the mind of an individual player too. Do what you think is going to be the most fun. The game isn't designed for us to explicitly lose and walk away angry. You can make any choice work with some creativity. So even if I lost the second attack Kiva gets with Barbarian 5, I get so much more for trusting the process and letting her evolve with the narrative.
Trauma can be a difficult thing to handle tastefully in D&D. How can you address and explore issues of trauma in role-playing games while keeping things respectful and inclusive?
The best answer I can give is do your research, even if that means safely doing some soul-searching research through yourself for inspiration. I know and have known some of the most incredibly powerful women who have survived domestic violence, loss of children, sexual assaults, and mental illness. I have survived and am still surviving a bunch of that myself. If it comes from a place of honesty and doesn't solely define your character in a way that makes them a caricature, I think that's a great start. The other piece of advice is to talk to your DM and talk to your fellow players. The beauty of a Session Zero, no matter what you call it, is that there's either an anonymous or collaborative discussion of health and safety needs. The module itself can be a very triggering experience for a lot of people. I have my own issues with several of the themes, but Dragna did the work all responsible DMs should do and talk to us about our own comfort levels. I don't think you need to be explicit either. A character can work through problems and traumatic incidents without the painful, gory details being described ad nauseum. Kiva can be a survivor of sexual assault without me describing what happened to her. Insofar as the game is an acting game, there are certain themes that people might give you criticism over if handled poorly, whether it's deserved or undeserved. Curse of Strahd explores genocide, racism, sexism, sexual violence, crimes against children, but none of that is meant to be explored carelessly or as a joke. You never know what someone has gone through, so the best thing to do is take your time, communicate openly, and be willing to apologize and learn to do better if something inadvertently gets out of hand. Above all, take care of yourself. Know when you need to take a brain break, kick back with some Animal Crossing, and surround yourself with love and positivity.
my friends. It is I, Count Strahd von Zarovich, and I bid thee listen. The Guild of the Black Crow have produced over 5 hours of ambient sound design for my most beautiful and ancient land. As used by Twice Bitten, these ambient backgrounds include my most private and intimate of letters, as well as bonus tracks not found in the Dungeon Master's Handbook. So, hear me now. I guarantee you safe passage to their camp. Support them, and perhaps we shall meet sooner than you think.
And welcome back, everyone, to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten. As always, before we get started, a few minor announcements. As always, thank you to Foundry Virtual Tabletop, our continuing virtual tabletop sponsor for this game, for providing an excellent backdrop for our soundtracks, our scenes, our maps, character sheets, all of the above. They do great stuff. Check them out. Otherwise, Twy, how's that Twitch looking?
Twitch is looking fantastic, actually. We have some lovely new emotes. For instance, we have Morgantha, we have Doru, and of course we have the man himself, Strahd. Bless his heart. If you want one of these lovely things, then you can grab them with Twitch Prime, with a regular subscription, and we greatly appreciate it, because all that good stuff goes towards making this stream the best it can be.
All right, thank you, Twy. And Serena, do you want to hit those socials real quick?
Yes, I do. If you like what you are hearing or watching, if you're watching it live or listening to the podcast, you can remember to join the discussion on our very own subreddit, reddit.com/r/twicebittendnd, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/rcurseofstrahd, for all of our past sessions, fireside chats, video essays, and highlights from the stream. And if you would like to send fan art or questions for After Dark, you can submit those to our Gmail, twicebittencos@gmail.com.
All right, outstanding. Thank you, guys. And I think we are good to go. So thank you all for sticking around, and let's dive right back in. So, as Kiva and Lillison continue their discussion at the shores of the Blessed Pool, I believe that certain other members of the party were going on a cow hunt and had recently located some cows.
That we were.
Amity, you complete the words of your ritual spell, and you feel the magic take hold.
All right. So Amity asks the cow. All right. So, a little bit of a weird question, but have you noticed anything weird about your milk recently?
So you're approaching the cows?
Yeah.
All right. You make your way over. You see one of the cows chewing its cud. It looks up at you. What?
Oh boy. I mean, so earlier one of my friends milked you, right? Or someone here.
The master milked me.
The master milked you. Not like a girl about yay high in the describes whatever clothing Willison's wearing.
No. She just kind of stood around for a bit.
I see. Amity sort of turns back to her companions, relaying all this. Do you know if when people have I guess milked, do you know if there was any milk that had like gone sort of bad?
The cow blinks. Milk go bad? It's good milk.
Amity looks at her companions after relaying this, sort of just like shrug.
All right, so not something to do with them. Thanks, Amity.
I assume Amity was mooing this entire time at us, and
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, maybe this particular bovine isn't the smartest in the whole lot, but yeah, if they're saying the master milked, if she's saying the master milked it, then I guess that means I don't know. I don't know what that means.
I guess it's kind of a question of if it's not something to do with us, do we really care?
Well, it could.
What do you mean it could? Like,
well, listen. Okay, so fine. You want to know? I'll tell you. I don't really trust Miss Littleton. I don't think she's as living as everyone else maybe suspects.
Living? The hell are you talking about?
So, God damn it. Oh. So, Amity's not the only one who gets dreams, right? I
Nope.
just haven't talked about them. But I have been having dreams, I guess you could say. And in those dreams, I'm being told that something happened to Lillison, and she may be a little bit closer to Strahd and the like than she's letting on.
Hey, Earthendeer looks kind of taken aback. Wait, you've been having dreams like hers? Like, the prophetic stories and all that?
No, not like hers, just different. But anyway,
Different how?
just different. But anyway, like I was saying, so in these dreams, I'm being told that Lillison is something happened to her, and that she may be, I don't know, maybe cheated deaf or is deaf. I don't know.
Please back up. If you're not getting the sense that like these are prophetic in the same way Amity's are, then why are you trusting them at all?
Because if it is prophetic, then we need to know. Then I need to know.
Okay. So the dream then has been telling you that she's wrong. She's undead or something.
Something like that.
Okay. Has she been breathing, eating, checked her pulse?
I mean, she don't like to be touched, so no, I haven't done that. And as far as I've seen, I haven't really seen her eat a drink recently.
I have.
Well, good for you. I haven't.
Great. So,
and we know that Strahd likes to drink, and he kind of gestures over at Randy's neck.
Thanks for the reminder, really, Sterling. So, your evidence is she doesn't like to be touched, and some dreams told you that it might be true.
And she's cold.
Wow. Just a sterling body of work you put together.
Oh, you know what? Fuck off, mate. I'm not so scientific. You know what? You're not having dreams, are you? Oh, wait, you can't.
Okay, let's not get a little too heated about this.
No. You're calling me into question. You're calling my integrity into question.
A little bit, yeah, because you won't tell me what these dreams are.
I just told you they're telling me things. That's all.
How?
They're just telling me things. Someone is telling me things.
Okay, who?
I don't know.
Like, there's just like a voice that comes out and says it, right?
Yeah.
Or like a sign, yeah.
Okay. Earthendeer looks a bit embarrassed. Okay, I'm sorry. I know this has probably been on your mind for a while. I don't... Okay, I'll be generous. If she is, what changes precisely?
What do you mean?
Like, we've been all asleep, incapacitated, or otherwise messed up in her presence, right? She's had ample opportunity to kill us, drink from us, turn us into undead, or put together her spooky mind control magic. And she hasn't. Ever. In fact, she's been putting a concerted effort to keeping our dumbasses alive. So, if she turns out to be undead, then... Not to sound like a broken record, but do we care?
Maybe not, but I still need to know. I need to know.
No, I'm with you there. I think that's fair. And we're not getting a straight answer out of her. She is... I don't think I'd trust her to tell me what she had for breakfast that morning. So, not a lot of great tests to figure out undead. I've seen her eat. we can try and test if she breathes with a mirror under the nostrils or something. But otherwise, I don't know. That's not the kind of magic I mess with. I'm not a cleric or something. Did Amity, Metreon, do y'all have any other ideas?
No, I'm just trying to figure out why.
Why what?
She wasn't undead before. I mean, she was eating. That night we was together at the campfire. She was eating with us. You know, she was warming herself, and you know,
Okay.
why? Is that what happens here? I mean, you know, her souls get trapped, and some people just happen to come back and live the rest of their miserable fucking lives here, being miserable.
I don't know.
Is that what's going to happen when I die? When I'm just going to be stuck here, wandering about, being cold?
No, because we're not letting you fucking die.
I don't know, man. She ain't gonna be forthright with us unless.
Nah. And I'm against Amity's sort of spells on principle.
Yeah.
No offense.
Yeah, Amity sort of spells.
I meant the zone thing.
All right, let's crack on then. Let's get back.
Yeah, let's go home. Home, Christ. All right. Yeah, let's go.
Metron will step away and kind of let the two of them walk ahead of him. He does want to kind of observe them as we're walking together, seeing how they are interacting.
Okay. Is there anything notable to observe?
I think Berthandir's probably just chatting quietly to Amity. I don't think he, just staying close by her. I don't think there's anything more, meaningful than that.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't take long before you arrive once more at the Baron's cottage. Entering inside, you see Ismark and Irina just doing their best to relax within in the fire-warmed living space. They both nod in greeting to you as you enter. A few moments later, entering from the small chamber to the side, you see Baron Krezk. Ah, you're mostly back then.
Yeah, I don't know
Yes?
where the other girls have gotten off to.
Well, if they're gone, it's still getting a bit late nonetheless. Give me a hand with putting supper together.
Oh, gladly. I haven't had the chance to cook in ages.
Excellent. Give me a few minutes and we'll start rustling something up. And you watch as he starts putting together, getting out a pot that he hangs over the hearth, getting at a number of root vegetables and a chopping knife, as well as a few bits of what look like dried pork, and begins working with the rest of you to begin making a meal. Actually going outside and fetching some fresh fallen snow to melt for use as water, before putting together what seems to be the beginnings of a lovely bubbling stew that begins to smell delicious over the hearth and fire.
Yeah, at some point while Randy and Amity are helping prep, Metron's just going to go ahead and go to the kind of bedroom area, I guess, where we've all kind of situated. Is anyone else back, or?
By this point, it's just the group of you, or the three of you, plus Ismark and Irina. There's no sign of the Baroness. Although, after around halfway through the preparations of the stew, you hear, I believe Lillison and Kiva were on their way back, yes?
Yes.
Slowly, yes.
Gotcha. So around halfway through the preparations for the stew, you do hear the door open. Lillison and Kiva stepping inside, kind of stamping some of the snow off their boots and moving into the warmer space of the cottage.
Baron Kreskov, sir, could I have a moment?
Of course. He nods to Amity. Keep an eye on the stew, won't you? Give it a stir. And
Amity
he
nods.
wipes his hands off and moves to join Lillison.
Just, something that I'm terribly embarrassed about. When I went to fetch the milk that your wife asked for, by the time it got back here, it had gotten spoiled. When I went to fetch a second pail, the man very understandably said that if I was going to take a second share, you would owe him a favor. But unfortunately, the second pail also went off. So I am perfectly happy to take on the burden of that favor for whatever it is that he might need, given that we don't have any milk here after all. She looks extremely flustered, like the entire time that she's saying this.
Is she actually flustered?
She is actually flustered.
Okay. The Baron gives you a long, lingering look. Kind of the exact same vibes as a teacher would respond when the student says, "The dog ate my homework." Just kind of a slightly confused, a little bit unsure. But then seeing the look in your eyes and the expression on your face, his expression softens somewhat, and he grunts, "Well, damn. I haven't heard of that Terrell's milk to ever go bad, but I hope something's not wrong with his cows. Not to worry, I'll take care of it. He's a good man, I'm sure. Whatever I could do to help won't be too much. Thank you for making an effort, though."
Lillison nods very rapidly, looking pretty relieved.
He coughs. "Well, I'd best get back unless there was anything else."
No, other than I know that your wife said that there wasn't any darning or mending to do just at the moment, but if there does end up being some, I can make myself useful that way.
He nods. "I'll let you know if anything comes up. Should be good for the moment, though. Thank you."
Thank you again for your hospitality.
Mm-hmm. He just grunts and returns back to the stew on the hearth.
Lillison is going to brush some of the snow off of her hair and then move to her bedroll near the fire.
While the two of them were cooking, while Krezk was away for a moment, Earthendeer looks over at Amity from where he's been stirring the stew and says in a quiet voice, "Hey, little question for you."
What?
Earlier when Kiva was teasing us about bed divvying and all that, how do you want to handle that?
Well, I guess I've nothing against trying sleeping in the same bed. I mean, nothing more than that.
Yeah, no, I'm not, Amity. I'm not like, when I am gonna ask it, when we get there, you'll know. I'm not gonna be all wink, wink. Oh no, what
All right,
could this be?
Good.
Are you? Is that? Yeah, but yeah, you seem kind of uncomfortable with the prospect.
Well, it was more that, I mean, sometimes I have a hard time getting to sleep, and I feel like someone like right next to me, breathing / rolling around. Though I guess you'll be trancing, so it's...
Yeah. No, seriously, if you can't sleep when I'm in the bed, then I won't be there. It's fine.
All right, well, I guess let's try it, and then if I can't sleep, then I'll, roll out a bedroll.
Yeah, no, I'll roll out a bedroll. You have to sleep. I have to power nap.
All right, sounds good.
Good plan. Thanks. It's nice. It's like what you said about being straightforward with these things. It's pleasant. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better this way than to try to, as you said, be all, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. By the way, your stew's burning.
Oh, God. Amity stirs it rapidly, getting some charred vegetables off the bottom.
As you do, Baron Krezk makes his way back over. So, if you happen to hear, did Anna say when she would be coming back?
Just a few hours, I think.
Did you say who she was going with?
Nah.
He shrugs. Well, I'm sure she'll be back soon. Hopefully she's back before dinner goes cold. How's that stew looking?
Pretty good, all things considered. We had a scare for a moment, but I think Amity's got it again.
Well. Should be ready pretty soon. I'll start getting out some bowls and then we can settle down for supper.
Cheers. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. He does so, busying himself around the kitchen, getting out a few utensils and bowls. A few of them smaller than the other ones, setting them out on the table and just around places where people can access them. And as he begins ladling the stew into the bowls, the door opens and you see a blustery wind sweep a few flakes of snow onto the ground before Anna steps in, shivering slightly and removing her cloak and setting it on the hook. Well, it seems that dear Demira shall be fine. Kretiana did her work, as always. The Baron glances over her shoulder. Oh, so Yoletsky was finally due. All went well? Anna nods. Indeed. That smells wonderful. Shall we be eating soon? And the Baron grunts, and Anna smiles and takes a seat by the table. Before long, there are bowls filled with fresh, steaming hot stew upon the table for anyone who wishes to take them. It smells homely, a humble meal, but delicious nonetheless.
Metron will begrudgingly get up off the floor in the bedroom and go grab a bowl. But when he comes out, does he see Kiva and Lillison as well as the others?
By now, I would say everyone is still in this main area. I mean, the bed where you were sitting on would be in the same space. So
Okay.
unless Lillison and Kiva say otherwise, then yes, I imagine they would be here as well.
Yeah, Lillison's here, close to the fire.
Yeah, Kiva got her stew as well and is set up where she put her backpack down and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Metron will take it and sort of position himself against one of the walls that is facing, keeping his eye on Lillison, but kind of also keeping himself in a place where he can see both doors or any kind of exits.
Yeah, no, Earthrendeer will slip in as well. And oh, good to see all of y'all. Lillison, where'd y'all end up going?
We went to see that pool that we were told about. It's very beautiful.
Oh man, if it weren't however many degrees it is, I'd go myself. I still want to swim in a way that doesn't involve a drowning child.
It's not really a swimming pool. It's almost just like a well, sort of, but it's very nice.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad
The
you got to
Baron
see
glances up. You took a walk over to the Shrine of the White Sun?
Is that what it's called?
Aye. Our folks built it a long, long time ago.
The structure near it certainly looks very old indeed. Do you know how long ago? The detailing on the statue, it's certainly a sight to behold.
Gods, I couldn't tell you. Think it had something to do with the Morning Lord, but it's been centuries, I'll bet. Not much left of whatever stories our ancestors had to tell.
Lillison glances over towards Earthrendeer, like almost by instinct whenever anybody mentions something that old.
Earthrendeer kind of was chatting a bit with Irina, but he immediately perks up. Oh, so it's held up that well then, or have y'all restored it?
Well, haven't really had much call to. The pool provides fresh water when we need it. Statue's a strange old figure, but some of the folk think it might be lucky or meaningful in some way.
Oh, no,
What?
no, I'm very happy y'all did. But that's wonderful. But you said no idea who or what could have made it.
Well, near I can tell, our ancestors did it centuries ago, but for now, whatever purpose they might have had for it in the Morning Lord, he ain't telling.
Shame. Well, regardless, glad you got it.
Works well enough to keep the water coming. The rest of it, maybe someday someone will fix it up, but there's too much else to do.
Yeah, I figured community like this, you gotta do what you can when you can.
Aye. Well, what we can is what we can do, and glad that we could provide a little bit of hospitality to folks who didn't have necessarily a place to go. You said you hadn't found what you were looking for at the Abbey. I'm sorry to hear that, though can't say I'm over surprised. My place, history ain't great.
We gathered the stories. Not ideal. Did you ever... This Markovia that it's named after, did you ever hear anything about her?
No, little. She was a priest of the Morning Lord, some say. Took a stand against the devil. Hell of a sight that must have been. Guts on that woman must have been something fierce.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Roused the fiercest uprising this land's ever seen. Her and her followers, they marched all the way to the castle. Destroyed 201.
Yeah, that is a theme that keeps coming up. But thank you. Earthrendir's kind of apparently turning something over in his brain. But that is all he has to say.
It's a lesson you gotta learn. Sometimes you can reach a little too far. Important thing is to look to the folks you got and take care of them in ways you can. Understand?
He looks up a bit, taken aback. Yeah, I guess. Thank you.
He turns back to his stew.
Metreon at this point, since he was the first to get his stew and was very hungry, has finished the stew and kind of sets the bowl on the floor. I'm gonna get some air. Kiva, you want to get some air too, right?
That would be lovely. She'll put down her empty stew bowl as well, and it will go with Metreon.
And we'll kind of head out to where we know there's a little bit of outdoor privacy. But once we're out there, he'll kind of make sure that no one's listening or watching. So you was with Lillison then?
Yeah, I didn't really get anything concrete. I mean, she wouldn't tell me. She said the way she is wasn't... The house didn't change what she already was before. Which, I mean, I know she was a warmer before. I pointed that out, that she held my hands in Death House before the... Death House? Kiva doesn't know it's called that. In the Durst Manor.
To be fair, Metreon did call it a Death House.
Yeah, we've all called it Death House at some point.
Kiva corrects herself and says, I don't know where that came from. No, she says in the Durst Manor. And then after, obviously, I mean, I thought she died. We were both running and she was behind me. And then all of a sudden she wasn't. But she was there when I woke up. And I asked her about it, and she said that she's always been a murderer before this and after this, and that being around her poisons people or makes them sick. Not right away, but it takes some time. It didn't really explain the way she is, but she told me she curdled milk. That she was getting milk for the burgomaster's wife, and as she was walking from there, it was fresh, and then by the time she got to the house, it was rotten. I told her she just must be unlucky, but she thinks it has something to do with her poisoning or the sickness that she has.
Yeah, I mean, curdle is a bit of an understatement. It was rotted. It looked like it had been out for at least a couple of weeks. It was maggots and flies. It was bad.
Well, that's disgusting, but I mean, I don't know. Look, I mean, I even asked her. I was like, "Are you a vampire, or why? If you are, why haven't you, eaten us all yet? Or if you're really this murderer, you haven't killed any of us." And I mean, I've touched her a handful of times, and I don't feel sick or, I mean, anything. So I don't know. I feel like it just gave me more questions than any sort of answers or comfort.
As Kiva talks, Metreon is sort of looking her over, and at some point, when Kiva is speaking, Metreon notices her hand. Hey, what happened?
Oh, this gardening accident. There was a bunch of roses in there. You cut up my hands.
Yeah, thorns. Thorns can be a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah, they're a right bitch, but the garden looks much better now. So I'm hoping that Ms. Krezkov thinks I did a nice job.
Can I see if she's holding back anything for me, DM?
If she is, she's welcome to permit it.
Yeah, she's absolutely holding something back. Yeah, you could try to see what it is.
That's a 13 on insight.
So do I have to roll a deception now? Is that
If you
is
are
that how this
deceiving,
works?
you may roll a deception.
Oh, that's a 9.
All right. What does Metreon notice about you?
Looking at the cuts, if you're at all familiar with gardening, there's no way that those are from thorns. I guess that would be the lie.
Yeah. Noticing that they look maybe more like scratch marks as opposed to like the way that thorns.
Yeah, I mean,
dig into
there's
the
like
skin.
deep gashes on her hands. Yeah.
He'll kind of as you're continuing to speak, kind of take the hand, kind of gently look over it.
Look, I told you it's nothing.
I mean, if you say it's nothing, but I don't think it's nothing.
Maybe another time we can talk about it, but we're here to talk about Lilison.
Well, listen, it's getting cold anyway. We should just get back inside. Yeah, get to the fire.
Yeah. She keeps his hand though, as they walk back inside.
Kind of like gives her a bit of this sort of like kind of tightens his lips and gives her a bit of a pathetic look, like, "Oh, you poor thing," but then like kind of ushers her back into the house by hand.
By this point, the gray sky over Krezk has gone dark as night falls over the village. As you begin making your way back into the cottage, you hear the faint fluttering of wings. And as you glance back over your shoulder at one of the pines across the road, you see a bat hanging there, a small black furry form, those little eyes glinting faintly in the night.
Metreon stops and immediately grabs Kiva's hand and squeezes it, looking up at the bat.
Kiva looks up at the bat and then steels herself and raises a hand and flips it off.
Let's not test him, all right? Let's just get inside.
Kiva gives it one more look and then goes inside.
The door shuts behind you, the wood thudding, and returning to the interior of the cottage as you leave the darkness of the oncoming night behind. The warm crackling of the fire is a welcome reprieve from the chill of the outdoors, and you find yourselves situated comfortably, albeit a bit crowdedly, with the other denizens of the cottage at this point, who by now have largely finished their evening meal. As they do, Anna Kreskova turns to the group of you. So, did you mention how long you expected to stay?
We are planning on heading out in the morning. We have something to pick up, and we'll be hitting the road then, I believe. Yes. And he looks to the others.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, I should wish you the best in your journeys then. Hopefully Krezk has proved a pleasant stop. And she offers you a curt smile.
More than. Thank you. It's been lovely to have some your hospitality. It's means a lot.
Well, one does what one can.
True.
Regardless.
Even so. I've not had a lot of warm fires and pleasant company in recent years, so any nights of such I get are welcome.
Well, that's what we do to provide in Krezk. My husband does what he can to ensure that what lies behind our walls remains safe, so that no untoward elements pass through the gates. So, what you see here is what we have worked for years to cultivate. So I'm very glad to hear that it arrives well.
We will do our best not to disrupt that more than necessary. And again, we are so very grateful for your hospitality and will not impose on you longer than we must.
She regards you with faint interest for a moment and then nods. Very good. Regardless, I suppose I must clean up, but I do hope you have a good evening. And she begins clearing away some of the dishware.
Thank you, milady.
Before long, she and the Baron move into the side room toward the front northern end of the cottage, leaving you alone in the central chamber.
Yeah, so I'd say for the first little bit, Metreon is sort of keeping to himself, just watching people, watching his comrades, taking very kind of small sips of his wine from his wine sack. But yeah, just sort of spending the time watching, most intently watching Lillison as well as Amity and Earthendeer, and occasionally kind of looking over Kiva to see if she's kind of changing dispositions at all, but especially with Lillison and the two of them.
Lillison is going to stay near the fire. She's brought out her knitting and is just working on a sock every so often, looking up at everybody else, but mostly, with a thoughtful, intent expression, turning a heel.
Earthendeer's kind of dozing in the firelight and good food, his head just kind of slumped on Amity's shoulder.
Kiva's just drawing away in her sketchbook for now and writing as well, but she's sort of focused on that.
Hey. You too, Amity. Oh, you remember when we first got together? We had stew, and we was by a fire.
Right.
Are there any berries here?
I think I kept some in my pack. I was gonna, bring them to somebody I knew and get him to see if we were being poisoned or something. Yeah, feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's only been as short as it's been, but I feel like I mean, I know we've all felt like we're trapped here, but even time itself feels like sludge, just...
Yeah, it's like there's like everything's happening at once. We've just kind of had a lot of empty, and then suddenly it's just this weird microcosm where most of my life's most significant events have either happened or made themselves apparent again in like a week.
Metreon looks up from the floor and, looking at Amity and Airthrindir and seeing them kind of cozied up next to each other, looks back down at the floor again and takes a moment to himself to think before speaking again. Hey, you remember stories, right? How we told stories?
Yeah. Amity told the bullfrog, I told Old Man Taylor's Eyes, and you told the one about the healing water, right? And the creature growing up inside the stomach.
Yeah, it was a fun one, right?
I liked it. Very appropriate. Why'd you bring it up?
I've been telling stories all my life, and when he looks up at you, there's this like mix of anger and frustration when he looks at you, like just looks at you straight in your eyes, Earthendeer.
He kind of, the sleepiness kind of vanishes as he takes this in, but his words are kind of measured. Have you now?
I don't have nothing outside of this place, outside of Barovia. I have no kids to lose, no parents to see, nothing except my freedom. And that's the only thing that's kind of kept me comfort since I've had it. And being here, even only the 10-day without it, has felt suffocating. And I'm starting to realize that you're all I have right now, and it's scary.
Earthendeer blinks, just kind of absorbing this. Oh. He chuckles. Yeah, that's fucking terrifying, isn't it? That you're at the point that when you get to the point where what you're hanging on to is a group of almost strangers. I know you may not believe me. I think I've always gotten the sense you think I've had everything handed to me or something. I don't really know. I don't care.
No, it's not
right
that.
now.
It's not that.
Then what is it?
Fine, I'll tell you another story.
By all means.
I told Kiva this already, and it's taken a lot for me to say it now. My name ain't Metreon. I was called Punch back outside of here.
Oh. So, is Metreon an alias, or is it the name you want to be now?
It was a means to an end. It was someone who I was familiar with professionally, and when I had the opportunity to do it, I took his name and his things and his money and ran. But before that, I look at Amity and I see her and she talks about her mum. And I never had that.
I suppose saying I'm sorry would be kind of one of the dumber things I'd done.
I don't remember my birth parents. I just know that they was both human. And when I was born, came out bright pink, a long skinny tail, and big yellow eyes. And they were scared. They hated it. They sold me to a man. He was his name was Macho. It was a ironic name given his particular disposition. But he had your accent.
Earthendeer's eyes are just wide. Oh. Was he like me?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of look like each other too. He had blonde hair now, long blonde hair, and he ran a crew, kind of a jerk of all trades, if you will. And when he purchased me, it was called Punch, because it was apparently what my mother wanted to do to my father once she saw me.
That's fucking sick.
Fuck them.
Yeah, I think Amity got in one. God, that's... I mean, again, kind of not much I can say, but I'm so sorry. And I'm sorry that you have to be reminded of him every time I talk. I know if I had to be reminded of I'd probably be.
It's not just that. So when when I was with him and his partner, this half-orc fellow named Bucus, believe it or not, he was the more gentle of the two of them. Macha was cruel though, and he always used to tell me that I don't need to know my birthday. I don't need to know how old I am, because it's just not going to matter. People like me, humans, they don't need to know how old they're going to be, because it's irrelevant to them. And for an high elf, they don't need to count the days, because time will just bleed together anyway. And so that's why I don't know how old I am. And when I was with him, first kind of scams we was running, first kind of games, was traveling sideshow sort of thing, kind of sell us out to carnivals, Bucus would be like the strong man, and I would be the organ grinder monkey, and I'd have to pick some pockets on the side, and if I didn't do it right, obviously Macho wasn't happy, but he wouldn't lift a finger to me. He'd just have Bucus do it. And eventually, we traveled And, it's one thing, you go to a small town, you see Punch the Dancing Devil, and, he's his little pink thing with, white hair dancing around, being entertaining and all that. But you go to a bigger city and like Neverwinter or, Waterdeep, and, a tiefling's a dime a dozen, So you got to step things up. And at this point, Metron looks down at Truffle. It wasn't just enough to be a performer. It was, I don't know if you've ever been to a sideshow or carnival or anything like that.
Once.
Never.
Metron looks over at Lilith and Kiva.
Kiva just scoots a little closer to you and puts her head on her shoulder.
You see that he looks extremely guilty right now.
Has Metron actually been saying this, intending for all of us to hear it?
Yeah, I mean, I figured we were all kind of in the same room.
Okay. Interesting. Lilison glances up, pretends like she wasn't listening the whole time.
Well, in the circus, there's a pre-show entertainment sometimes. You have someone called a geek. And I was, in these bigger cities, I was told to be the geek. And so, when we was at that house, it made perfect sense to get rid of him for Kiva, but when you said, let's just kill the pig, it brought back so much, and it was just a reminder of something of the kind of cruelty that I've seen from people like you. The disregard for people who aren't you. And I know that that's not you, that you aren't that person, at least as far as I know, and kind of like jingles his bag and starts to kind of pull out the Batmobile that he's been keeping inside of it. I know that it's not you, but can't help it.
Earthendeer's eyes are just fixed on the mobile, just dangling in the darkness. You kept it.
I mean, what's it gonna do? Throw it away?
Honestly, yeah. He kind of wipes away a tear. God, I mean, I'm trying my damnedest not to be that person. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes it's tempting to just, he shakes himself. But if I ever make you feel like that, tell me. Or slap me. I don't know. I don't care. But it's
fine. I know it's me, and I know it's just me. That's all.
Yeah. And it's just me, the reason I flinch at bad smells or fires that are a little too big, and that the reason why I can't look at like a fancy ball without wanting to puke, but that doesn't mean I don't expect help from it. But yeah, I'm sorry. That's a lot. That's more than anybody should have to live with, and I'm glad you're away from it. I'm glad you've got your freedom, even if we don't have it right now, because yeah, fuck them. Fuck anybody who treats you like that. They don't get to do that. And with the pace that we're getting stronger and more capable, then if we get them out of here, then nobody's going to be able to do that to you ever again.
I need some more air. And Metron gets up and goes back, just unconsciously, back to the kind of outside area that he was at before, even kind of forgetting that he had seen a bat there a couple hours earlier.
Could Kiva follow him? Would he allow that or no?
I mean, he's not. Anyone could follow him. He's not
Yeah.
really paying attention.
Earthrendir would.
Yeah, she'll just go outside and stand with him. She's not going to say anything.
You're a good person, you know that?
Fuck off.
Hey, look, if we get to insult each other on the regular, then I get to tell you one nice thing. You are. And I know I have a hard time showing it sometime, but I do appreciate you telling me all this. The fact that you trust me means a lot. I don't
Let's
trust.
get one thing clear. I'm trusting you.
Fair enough.
Kiva does actually look a little, like, momentarily offended by that, but goes back to more neutral.
Yeah.
We're in this together for now, even if Lilison might be a zombie.
Maybe.
But if you care about her, if you really care about her, you remember that she isn't like you and that you have to take special considerations for her.
For Lil...
For Amity, you fool.
You change subject in the middle of that sentence.
Well, you know what? My head's not on straight right now, all right?
Fair, and I do. Earthrendir kind of rubs at his eyes. Look, I'm already half... I already half wish I hadn't told her what I felt, because I'm worried about... I don't want to lead her on, for either because we think we're all going to die, or because she's beautiful and lovely and just bright. But yeah, no, believe me, I have no intention of treating her like some disposable. It's not that simple. And I wouldn't do that to someone else.
Well, good, because if you did, I'd castrate you.
What is with you two and threatening to murder me if I do things to... you know what? Fair.
Listen, death is a pretty good motivator, I feel like. I mean, it's what motivated us to even, stick it out with each other.
Point taken. But yeah, no, believe me, I care about her a lot, and I've never been with a mortal or a girl, but I'm trying. I'm really fucking trying.
Well, I'm full up on air now, so get back inside, warm up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Metron will turn away and start to go back into the house.
Earthrendir will kind of exchange a quiet look with Kiva. Is it something about this place that just attracts souls who don't think that anybody else could ever be, like, care for what they become? Because we seem to have ended up with 5 of those.
Maybe it's just luck of the draw.
Maybe. Could Earthrendir see your hands?
I mean, she's not hiding
it's entirely up to you.
She's not hiding it per se, but
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like she's like trying to keep them covered up or anything.
Yeah, he kind of glances down. Oh, do you want me to get that for you?
Oh, no. Just some gardening stuff.
I
I'm sure it'll be gone by morning.
I know, but it's sparing you a little bit of pain, and that's worth a bit of concentration and a spell.
No, you should save them for other things.
Like what?
Who knows? We may run into more horrible creatures on the road tomorrow.
And I will be rested, and I will feel better if my traveling companion didn't have to go to bed with Rose. Look, it's one spell. You are welcome to. You can tell me to fuck off for another reason if there is one, but you are worth one spell.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll take you up on it later, maybe, but I'm okay for now.
All right. Yeah, he'll head back inside.
Yeah, Kiva's just gonna stand outside for a little bit longer, but she's not gonna do anything.
Okay. With that, returning to the cottage one at a time as the night grows darker. Is there anything more you would like to do this evening before turning in for your night's rest? No?
No.
No, not
I
for me.
think we're good.
Okay.
Maybe
That
get spooned
you-
by Ismark, but that's it.
Yeah, no. Earthendeer's
Speaking of
got it.
Ismark,
Yeah?
as he... So first off, who is taking the beds?
Presumably Earthendeer and Amity are taking one of them, with a possible third person if there's room.
The beds are not enormous. They're pretty humbly sized. Like, even Amity and Earthendeer will have to kind of squeeze.
Oh, I'm sure that's going to be a problem.
Kiva's gonna sleep on the floor, so
Yeah,
she's not taking a bed.
Yeah.
Metron's kind of finding a corner to sit in, or maybe like a chair to sit in to like just pass out in upright.
Yeah, Lillison's on the floor.
In that case, Ismark, at Ismark's request, Irina, looking somewhat uncomfortable doing so, will take the remaining bed. Though as she does, she moves to make the blankets for a moment and then pauses, frowning, and glances underneath it. Earthendeer, from this perspective, you can see something poking out from the underside of the bed. It looks like a small bit of burlap.
Earthendeer kind of pulls away and sort of like leans down to see what it is.
You pull it out, or as you watch as Irina does so, she kind of peers in, looking curious, and then her mouth forms an O, and she closes it and kind of takes a step back.
Irina?
She doesn't look scared, but she looks at you with something of a sad look in her eyes. I'm not sure. It looks like a doll or something. A few bits of clothes as well. I'm not sure who they belong to.
Wait, what?
Earthendeer kind of peers inside.
You peer inside and you see what seems to be a kind of thatch-made doll with button eyes, very, shabbily but lovingly made. You see beside it would seem to be a few bits of clothes, tunics, and pants, as well as a small pair of shoes that seems to be smaller than an adult's, but larger than a child's.
Oh.
What is it?
He looks at Metreon and lowers his voice. It's a doll and some kid-sized shoes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh. It's not. Wait.
It's not of her.
Okay, good.
That, I did wonder why they'd have two guest bed. God damn it.
Yeah, it's a heavy day.
Yeah. kind of looks at Irina. Maybe you should just put these under the bed.
We don't know for certain. Maybe they grew up and moved out.
Maybe, but it's Barovia. I've kind of given up on half the interpretations of things.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Krezkovs are actually like witches and they're gonna eat us.
They're welcome to try. I've been told elf meat is very gamey.
You know, I was trying to make a joke, but then I thought about Barovia and I kind of shuddered a bit at it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Although, if you were going to make it, then know that that's inaccurate for the meaning you were going for.
Right, well, yeah, we should just turn it in, yeah?
Earthrendir looks enormously pleased himself and just kind of burrows back in next to Amity. Right, yeah, good night.
Each of you turns.
Amity is practically already falling asleep. Yeah, good night.
Yeah. Push me off the bed if you need to, alright?
If you actually insist. So.
Or just tap me. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be the tap, but hopefully not.
Yeah. He'll just kind of... Yeah, and as he settles down, he just wraps an arm around her and heads to bed.
Yeah. Hopefully the arm wrapping is temporary. There's no way Amity's going to fall asleep with a freaking arm around her, but
okay.
If it's temporary, then yes.
It's temporary.
Okay. And with that, Amity and Earthrendir turn in to bed, Irina doing the same and leaving the sack below the bed. As the others turn into their own bedrolls, the fire still crackling, burning down with a slight ember glow as the darkness outside the cottage grows colder, but the warmth of the hearth still flickers in the interior of the small cottage. Outside, you can hear the wind faintly whistling through the trees, which shake and tremble as the snow whirls through the air, dancing like little eddies in the night sky. Your sleep passes peacefully, few dreams coming to you as your elven trances take you forward through the night. Hours of silence and quiet dark. And then, as Earthrendir and Kiva are beginning to come to the end of their trance, there's a sudden silence, and an explosion rocks the roof of the cottage.
Oh no.
Oh, come on!
Come on.
There's a sudden moment of rushing of burning, screaming air. And suddenly, for a moment, your eyes flashing open from the disturbance first, each of you two elves, you see suddenly flaring from the roof of the thatched cottage overhead, you see burning, screaming faces erupting from between the thatch, poking from the straw, each one a skull, the skin pulled black but forged of flame and ember and fire. You hear a roar, a rumble, as all around you, sparks begin to fly. The thatched roof burning up and then beginning to spread down. Black smoke begins to fill the chamber as each of you awakens, coughing, the fire burning overhead.
Get out, everyone now, get out.
Yeah, we're gonna start to gather our stuff. I'm gonna gather my stuff up at least and start to rush out of the exit.
Yeah.
As they make your way forward, the door behind you slams open and you hear the Baron and Baroness coughing as Dimitri shouts hoarsely, What in the hell is going on?
I don't know, just keep running, go.
Listen, you feel the roar of the fire against your skin, almost burning you from a distance with its terrifying heat. You can see in some places your skin blackening and smoking like paper as you make your way as quickly as possible toward the door.
Earthrendir's just staring up at the ceiling, like his face just a rictus of horror. He's not moving.
Lillison is going to grab
awake?
her stuff and, trying to get as far from the fire as possible now. She's going to hesitate, look back at Earthrendir, and then just abruptly just jostle his shoulder.
What?
Out! Now!
Fuck. Alright. He just he blearily starts trying to gather his things and then just looks over to Amity. Hey, we gotta go.
Wait, so Amity's actually awake and this isn't a dream sequence? Oh god.
Not a dream sequence.
Okay.
You feel real burning heat on your shoulders from the fierceness of the inferno burning above.
Amity wraps her arms around Trouble, picks him up. Yeah. She stop, drop, roll. She ducks her head and tries to like make her way kneeling out of the house.
As you do, you hear screams and squeals from the other side, choking and coughing. The Baroness looks up, her face pale. The livestock.
Yeah, Kiva's gonna wait for everyone to get out anyway. She will toss her bag to one of the people that's leaving, but she'll go through and try to get some of the animals out.
Anna nods to you gratefully, and together the two of you make your way toward the door. You hear the clucking of screaming chickens, the squealing of pigs, terrified. Anna quickly gestures you toward the coops, the latches that lock them, as she makes her way pushing through the gates of the pen and flings the door open, a cold blaze of cutting air slicing through the night. The pigs screaming as they fled out into the cemetery beyond.
Yeah, Kiva's going to try to pick up as many of the hens and chickens as she can and just get them outside as quickly as possible.
You do so, rushing out into the back of the yard as the others rush into the front. And as you make your way out to the back, you see with Anna, as you hear the sounds of your friend's footsteps making their way out to the snow crunching in the front, you can see the faint, misty cemetery before you. But where it was simply quiet before, there's something different about it now. Anna's eyes go wide and she freezes in terror as you can see that 4 of the graves, including the one that you saw before, have been dug up. Gaping, empty, dark holes now yawning with earth and soil. You watch as Anna collapses to her knees. No.
Look, you need to go out with your husband now, okay?
At this point, you're in the back of the cottage, free of the fire.
Okay. So she's gonna tell her to just get to her husband. And she has her scimitar with her, and she's just gonna stand there waiting for who she knows is probably gonna show up, the fucking bastard.
As you do, you hear, well, from the other side, as the rest of you, because Kiva and the Baroness, as they make their way out through the back door into the cemetery behind the cottage, the rest of you rush out, choking and coughing, into the space in the front. You can see the black trail of smoke whirling up into the air, like a black specter, a shroud that hangs over the cottage like a mark of death. And outside, you see standing there, lit in dancing scarlet light from the flickering tongues of the inferno behind you, a small army of creatures. You count more than half a dozen ghoulish silhouettes, their flesh pale, their teeth long, yellowed and dripping with blood and faint scraps of flesh. As you watch, the mist curls in strange twists, and as you watch, stepping forth from the mist, nearly a dozen wolves. Their black fur flecked with snow as their hackles rise and their yellowish fangs glint in the dark moonlight. And at the center of this assembly, you see standing there, behind 3 small, shambling forms, Strahd. He stands there towering above the rest, before the forms of 3 other individuals that stand before him. His widow's peak slicked back, his eyes glinting dark crimson in the flickering firelight of the burning cottage. As you watch, you can see the figures before him, what seems to be a teenaged boy next to a young girl, perhaps no older than 9 or 10, standing beside which you see standing a teenage, nearly an adult woman. Each of them looking decrepit in some cases. You see the young man, the teenager, looks the best of them. He looks pale and sickly with spots across his flesh. Beside him, you see a emaciated, almost skeletal the little girl is skeletal in her form. The older teenager, you can see part of the flesh across her arm crushed, the shoulder smushed and splintered, her entire body near half decayed. As you watch in her arm, she carries a small bundle, unmoving, but a small skeletal remain. You can see each of them seems to have large chunks missing from their flesh, almost large scars or bite marks, where the skin and muscle has been ripped away, and atop their foreheads, red smears that can only be blood, as reddish tears spill from the sides of their hollow, vacant eyes. Immediately, Baron Krezk gasps. My children! What have you done to my children? Baron Strahd regards the Baron coolly for a moment from behind the three undead forms, for undead they clearly are. So this is a reunion. Excellent. And some familiar faces as well, as he regards the remainder of Hung Yu. You see Baron Krezkov's eyes glittering with fear and horror. Please, my children, we've done nothing to you. Please return them. I bear Castle Ravenloft no ill will, I promise, I swear it. Strahd just shakes his head. Oh, I assure you, my good Baron, I am not here for Krezk. Though I would note that your home seems to be set aflame. A pity that fires tend to spread, even in snow and cold. Perhaps fetching assistance might not be terrible, but then again, I have business elsewhere to attend to. And he fixes his gaze on you. At this point, Kiva and Anna, you make your way around the side of the cottage, seeing this assembly of forms and figures before you, Strahd towering above them all, and the faint mist wisping through the air. Strahd spreads his arms. Welcome to Krezk. It has been too long since I've seen you last. Are you enjoying your time in this quaint corner of my domain?
Much less, or much more, before seeing your ugly fucking face.
A temper. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed that. I apologize that I could not spare this time to speak or deal with you properly during our previous encounter. You at least seem to have... Well, three of you seemed almost hungry to test yourselves against me the last time you met. Perhaps I shall oblige that desire tonight.
You miserable fuck.
Miserable? I assure you, I am exactly where I desire to be. Though perhaps you are not. Perhaps you'd be too frightened. Understandable. Many in my lands know terror when they see it.
Kiva cracks her neck and just says, all I see is a small man trying to hold on to whatever power he has.
Is this courage? Do you, Kiva, have the courage to bore me? For broken toys are easily discarded.
I promise you I'll never stop entertaining you.
Then perhaps this should be an interesting evening after all. He glances aside to the wolves and ghouls beside him. There's a moment, a pause of silence.
Lillison is going to step forward with her shoulders back and her gaze lowered. But she takes a deep breath and says, My lord, you said that you are a busy man, and we all believe that. Your time is valuable, and I should not like to waste it bandying words. If you would state your purpose clearly, I am sure we would all like to hear it.
Strahd smiles. Ever the diplomat. But, my dear, you must understand that there is always a time when the time for words comes to an end, and the time for action is upon us. He turns to the ghouls and the wolves and says, "Bleed them." And as the words leave his mouth, there is a roar, a thunderclap of lightning. You watch as a black bar of electric light smashes through the air, piercing from a shadowed place underneath one of the cottages next to the barons. A swirl of piercing bolts that cuts through the bodies of several of the wolves and ghouls, striking one of the zombies. Strahd whirls, his eyes wide. And as he does, you see stepping from the shadows from underneath the thatched roof of the adjacent cottage. Her face pale and almost withered, with black veins visible through her skin, but slowly returning as her face resumes its ordinary color. Through her eyes, you can see, are dark. The sclera and irises pitch black, almost like ink. As Esmeralda Davenir steps from the shadows, her fingers still crackling with tingles of electrical energy. Her hand axe drawn at her side and her rapier resting beneath the palm of her hand. As she says, "You can still go. The night is still young, and you may yet live."
I was just telling him he reminded me of my dead ex-husband. I killed him too, you know.
Esmeralda chuckles. "I knew I liked you. As for him, perhaps small man is not the worst word to use." Strahd's eyebrows raise into his forehead. "At long last, a hero. I have filled graveyards with fools such as you. And of Vistana, do your people turn traitor so easily?" You watch as Esmeralda's brow furrows as she spits. "I have sworn no oaths, and my road is mine to choose. The Vistani people are far greater than the dregs that have bound themselves to your service. I fight on my terms." Strahd's eyes darken, and then he sneers. "Take them." The wolves howl, the ghouls snarl. And that is where we will end it for today.
What?
Hey, Dragma.
Well, it's good that we're
Dragma.
just ending it here. Yeah, and that's where we're ending it. That's the podcast.
That's the end of the
everyone.
campaign.
That's the end of the campaign.
Well,
we're
we've-
gonna just tap
yeah.
out there.
We
Go out on a high note.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know,
had a good time,
can't
everyone.
beat that, right?
Wow, good thing we didn't waste our spell slots earlier in the day.
Yeah, good thing we have those lay on hands still. Wow.
Oh no, we definitely don't. So
Exciting. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Dragon, I feel there's a perennial, but what the fuck?
Maybe someday I'll answer that question.
One day.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday.
Doesn't count as a dwelling if it's on fire.
That's a
Wait,
good
doesn't
strategy.
it though? Like we could just go back inside, you know?
Inside the burning building, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm pretty sure Lilliton would like burn to a crisp, like just by proximity.
Yeah, great. Oh boy, fireball. He's used one spell slot, everyone. Singular.
we'll be fine. We'll be all right.
Beautiful. Well, we'll see if you will be all right or not next week. Until then,
No.
Well, thank you to everyone for joining us today, as always. We will see you back in the mists next week. Until then, burn bright in dark nights and keep your secrets close to your chest, and take care.